All right. Looks like we're live. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us today for the Tattoo Collecting Podcast with Fawn Baker and Jordan Ruckus, beaming out live from the True Tattoo Supply and Red Tree Tattoo studio, live on the Reinventing the Tattoo community. Today we have special guest Chris and his daughter Sierra from the Indianapolis Tattoo Expo. You guys can join Fawn and Jordan once a week to talk with artists about art, collecting, clients, aliens, tech, and more. We're beaming out to several different places, so if you are watching, let us know that our streams are working by tagging a friend who loves tattoos or letting us know where you are beaming in from. Positive reviews are welcome and encouraged. All of these Reinventing Network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, and webinars can be watched at reinventing247.com. While you're there, you can hook yourself up with a sample bundle from top-tier brands known for making quality products, Cheyenne cartridges, raw pigments, and D-Lies Pro. We have several weekly shows and drawing groups that you guys are welcome to tune into or even hop on the call with us. It's really easy and pretty fun to do. You can set reminders for our upcoming events on our YouTube channel or catch us live. Sundays at 1 p.m. we've got the Reinventing Drawing Group with Jason Leeser. This is great to bring something you're working on or if you have questions about it and get a straightforward, honest answer in a judgment-free atmosphere. Mondays at 9 is our evening canon class with subscribers, led by the legendary Guy Aitchison. And their Reinventing Trimester just started. Orientation was last week, so if you guys want to check that out, the Reinventing Evolution, go to reinventingthetattoo.com. Also on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we have Ricardo Sturdivant Tuesday Feels. Wednesdays at noon is the Tattoo Now show, and Thursdays at noon is right here, the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. We also have several real-world events that we're going to be gearing up for soon. We are going to be beaming out this weekend for the World Tattoo Events segment at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention on Saturday, February 26th. You can catch us all at Hell City in Columbus in Ohio, May 20th to 22nd, the Indianapolis Tattoo Expo on June 10th to 12th, and we'll also be at the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational on July 29th to 31st, in Hell City and Phoenix on August 26th and 27th. But before we kick it off with Fawn, let's shout out to some of our sponsors for helping provide this content to you guys for free. Thank you to World Tattoo Events, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. Also, thank you to Raw Pigments, an ink company that is tapping into the raw pigments with acrylic-free inks that have been impressing artists of all skill sets across the globe. Also, Tattoo Now, providing technology for tattooers. Thank you, Gabe. And the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison. You can find his biomech encyclopedia, DVDs, machines, paintings, and more at guyaitchison.com. Also, thank you to our affiliates, Jake at the Fireside Tattoo Network, Amy at the Apprenticeship Diaries, and eco-friendly tattoosupplies.com. Throughout the show, we welcome positive comments and reviews on these channels and would love for you guys to follow us. So hit that subscribe button and you can see all our upcoming stuff. To join in these live streams, you guys can go to reinventingthetattoo.com, scroll down to our calendar, and click the event that you would like to join. In the event description, you'll see a Zoom link. Click it and then check your video and audio and you are in. If you'd like to host a Reinventing event or to sponsor our community, you guys can send us an email at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Now guys, I'm gonna be off in the background. I'll read off comments. I'll have my browser open to share inspirations or references. And for now, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to you, Fawn. You are on mute now, so I'd love to hear you talk, but.
Can't hear her yet.
There we go.
All right. Well, you guys have a great
fantastic
episode today. Thank you.
All right.
you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Good seeing
Fantastic
you,
intro.
Laura.
You're always so much more graceful than I am with that. So welcome, everybody. Today we've got special guests, Chris and Sierra Taylor. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves? Take turns, like who you are and why it's special that you're joining us?
Cool. Well, I'll start. I'm Chris Taylor. I run Indie Tattoo Expo and owner of Ink Therapy in Plainfield, Indiana. And this is my daughter who has started joining me in the tattoo industry.
I'm Sierra Taylor, and I've obviously grown up around tattooing my whole life, and I've been tattooing for a year now. And me and my dad just been tattooing side by side, and we're starting to travel a lot together. It's really exciting.
Fantastic.
She's understanding my travels and conventions. You know, when she was a kid, she didn't get to go to as many and didn't get to see. Now she's like, oh, those were, no wonder you were going.
Yep. Yep. It's funny how like the time away doesn't seem like it makes any sense until you can understand what's being done with that time and like how the networking and the community works.
I remember getting like really upset with you traveling so much, especially because you were always gone every Halloween for the New Orleans convention.
Every year, New Orleans, I'd be down there.
Yeah, but now you can join the roller coaster ride.
Exactly.
You
Now
know,
I'm like, I'm gonna go to all of those.
Well, now she understands too that it wasn't just me going out of town to party. I mean, yeah, we have a good time. We're fortunate for that, but there's a lot of work involved, you know, especially now that we're running the tattoo expo. I mean, we go to these tattoo expos and me and her will just drive sometimes out of town to a tattoo expo, or me and my daughter Macy, who's starting her apprenticeship now too. So getting my kids all involved is being really cool, you know. But we'll drive to expos and just hustle the, you know, the show and tell 1,000 people about Indie Tattoo Expo, blah, 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 Indie Tattoo Expo, June 10th to 12th, you know, and just keep reiterating it over and over. So now they see the work. It wasn't like Dad was just going to hang out for the weekend, you know.
And my kids have come with us, and my daughter's better at hustling stuff than I am.
Yeah.
She loves to be of it.
It's awesome that you've really turned it into like a family, like a full family. I don't want to call it a job, but like a full family. I don't know. It's just nice that you can actually like include your family into your passion and they come together. A lot of people aren't that fortunate. A lot of times people have to make decisions one or the other and compartmentalize, but it's really nice that your family's like just right on board and you're all kind of moving forward together. That's really a cool thing to see.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it makes work easier when you can do it with the ones you want to be with and stuff. I bring my kids to work sometimes. I don't have a babysitter a lot, so they'll hang out in the drawing room and draw.
She's like, I feel bad. I'm like, well, don't you remember that was you when you were a kid? So
Yep, that's part of it. That's part of it.
She's 9. My 9-year-old granddaughter, she's already done a couple little tattoos too. So I think I showed you guys the other day and said, get down, you know, for being 9 years old. Yeah, just letting them mess around. But it's nice, like you said, it's rewarding to me because I've loved tattooing so much, and I started when I was, you know, 15 years old. So I'm rolling on 30 years of tattooing, and she's 25. So her entire life, you know, and I don't have any other hobbies. Like I am tattooing. That's what I do. I do tattoos or I do artwork, occasionally jump on the Harley or something, you know what I mean? But like anything I do is revolved around tattooing. So, you know, you go to that point as a parent too, and your kids get older and you're like, damn, you missed some time. And it almost feels like you did a bad job because you were so focused on working, even though that was what was taking care of them. But then when they start to be part of it, it's rewarding, and it kind of reminds you of like what that work was about, because you start to question yourself, you know, just because of society and the world. And always, I think anybody who is a good parent or a good person, you should always want to be better. So, you know, you look back and think, damn, I wish I'd done that better. I think always. And then when that starts to become part of your daily life again, and you know, all the kids are influenced into it. My son's worked the counter before. My middle daughter, Kaylee, she's, you know, done an apprenticeship, and she probably will get back into it, you know, once the kids get a little bit bigger. And, you know, Sierra, she's been doing it for a year. Macy's, you know, 20 and she's in her apprenticeship. So it's like crazy rewarding right now. And then the expo popped off, and they've all been not only, you know, tattooing and trying to learn a tattoo, but they're learning how to help run a tattoo expo now. You know what I mean? And I'm dragging them everywhere. You know, she's new to it. She's like, I don't know about going on a podcast. I'm nervous. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. You're on Guy Ashton website, you know, like. So,
it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all.
But it's cool to, you know, to have them be a part of all that fun and see how it is and isn't. You know what I mean? It is a big deal and it isn't. We're all just one big tattoo family. And it's, man, the reward of having her beside me tattooing and walking in days where I got like a double booth at my shop. So some days we get to work in the same booth side by side. And, you know, it's just something crazy that you always think, man, that would be so cool if it really happened. And I don't think, you know, for forever I thought it would, and then I thought it wouldn't. And it was like something I always hoped for, because all my kids have been artistic, growing up. So when she's finally doing it, and sometimes I look over, I just walk in the shop and she's in her tattoo, and I'm like, hell yeah, you know what I mean?
I still feel like that. I can't believe I'm a tattoo artist sometimes. Get done with
It
something,
is.
I'm away.
It's kind of like a dream come true some days, isn't it?
It really is. I say that all the time. I love my life since I've been tattooing. I feel like it's helped me in a lot of ways.
Let's see if I'm gonna
And this is stuff
Yeah.
done within this first 6 months of her tattooing.
So
you know?
that one, I had a outline that had like black lines in it and stuff. And then my dad and Kenny Sloan were like, oh no, you can do a realistic sunflower without the hard lines. And I was like, y'all are crazy.
So that's the first time she ever did anything with no
And,
lines.
I don't know. I was just like, oh my God, like I've never been so nervous to do a tattoo. I really hope this turns out well. I knew the person. But
So you know you're gonna have to keep looking at it and nitpicking it and scrutinizing.
I mean,
But Fawn, don't you think, you know, I mean, even like we were talking today, don't you think your whole career you're gonna be like starting each piece like shit? Like, you know, you're pushing yourself so hard every time to roll it out.
Yes, it's true that I'm always pushing myself when I work on a new project, and I always want to push it the furthest, but I know that I'm always growing and evolving. So the people that I'm close with, it's like there's a even more of a pressure to like one up myself, because I want to be happy with it forever. I don't want to be happy with it for 3 years and be like, man, if I would have known these tricks then, I could have made it so much better.
Yeah.
So there's always that like my eyes scrutinizing it are going to be on it all the time. Like, even if they're happy with it, even if they love it, I'm still going to be like picking and pulling it apart and nitpicking things that nobody else is ever even going to see or notice. Or something that like, I think it could be stronger, where somebody else is going to be like, that's my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. That's the good thing about art too, is, you know, sometimes we're, you know, when we turn it into the job, we let that pressure take over versus enjoy it. It's art. And yes, you might have done it darker and they might have done it lighter. Both of them look great. You know what I mean? Instead of comparing it each time, but, you know, always trying to grind to be better. I love this piece she just done here.
yeah, it's on my best friend. Her name's also Sierra. I love it. She's obsessed with it.
That's not a super easy area to tattoo, and it looks nice and clean and beautiful. It's really nicely done.
That was my first time tattooing that area. I was nervous about it, but that's another one I got done with, and I was like, holy shit. I'm glad I pulled that off.
I like this little guy here.
I just did that the other day on Sierra Mulligan.
She's Tall Artist on Instagram. That's another one of our artists that works with this. I love this girl. She's Sierra's age. She did an apprenticeship with Schultz and myself, and she's been tattooing maybe 2 or 3 years, and she's really helped out with this Sierra too. So she got to do this piece on her. I thought it was a fun little.
Yeah, I love her. I absolutely love her work so much. She's one of my favorite artists for sure, and I refer a lot of people to her, honestly, if I feel like I'm not capable of doing something. And she gives me a lot of advice and always takes the time to show me different things or help me out if I need it.
Yeah, that says a lot about another artist's character, when they just take the moments and like show you the little tricks and like explain why and how. Not all artists slow down enough to like show you the ropes. You know what I mean? Like,
I've told her like I appreciate it, and she said like she believes art is all about sharing and giving back to art.
Yeah, I say it all the time. There's almost like this karmic exchange. Like, the more knowledge you share with other people, the more knowledge you stumble upon, or the, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the more I share little tricks, the more doors are opened for me to learn new tricks, new angles, new things. So I feel like if you're not sharing, the universe doesn't drop more knowledge on you. So I think it's one of those, like, you got to share what you learn if you want to continue learning. I feel like it just kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it's like a circle of sharing.
Yeah, and you know, that's the first tattoo she ever did. So that tattoo is actually on me. It was her birthday one year, and I'm like, we're going to a tattoo shop and you're going to tattoo me, because she had done an apprenticeship, but she had kids young, and you know, so she had to stop her apprenticeship, and then, you know, she was just living and not really get into it. So one day I'm just like, you know, on her birthday, I'm taking her up there. So we stopped by. She had never tattooed anything on fake skin, and her apprenticeship prior to was just the, you know, the shop bitch stuff, you know, cleaning, doing it, learning the front counter, learning how to talk to people, learning how to tear down, set up, but she had never tattooed. And so I just literally popped it on her. I was like, hey, we're going to the shop. You're going to tattoo me. And so that was her very first tattoo, very first time ever using a tattoo, you know, machine.
Yeah,
Sometimes I feel like that's the best way to do it, just to like see if you've got the nerve to just jump in and do it and do as good of a job as you can. Like some people get very nervous about the permanence, where like other people just like sometimes it just clicks. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like for me it was very natural, and I think it's awesome when it just like feels like you were supposed to have a tattoo machine in your hand the whole time. And like from
Yeah.
the looks of how you're progressing, like you're crushing it, girl. In a few years, you're gonna be like impossible to get into.
Oh,
You're
thank you
doing
so
really,
much.
really
That
good.
means a lot.
Yeah,
But when it's fun,
you're doing great.
I was terrified for that one, and him and Mike Schultz were like, "You got this," and I'm like, "It's a little big," and they're like, "No, it's good," and I'm like, "Oh my god," and I was terrified, and then like as soon as I started, it gave me like a whole new calmness. Like honestly, it makes me like emotional to even talk about it. Like it just like centers me and calms me.
It's funny how that works. It's like we have all this stress. Our last episode, we spent a lot of time talking about like the stress that artists carry and why, and like, you know, all of those things. And it's funny how like no matter, yeah, I always say I'm never burnt out on tattooing itself. I get burnt out on all the people and all the people that I need to talk to and answer to at any given time. But it's funny how like once I sit down and that machine is running and it's me and my client, and everything else just fades away. Like nothing matters in that moment. I can't do anything about anything else other than just concentrate on this one task at hand, this one important task. And I think that's, I don't know, it's almost it like you were starting to say, it's almost like therapeutic because everything else just falls away.
I mean, it definitely is for me. I'm a worrier and like, I'm very emotional and stuff, and it like has helped me so much, and it really is therapeutic to me. And I feel like it's changed my life in a lot of ways.
I mean, that's truly why I named the shop being therapy, was because, you know, I'd have a lot of clients, and we've been open. This was 2011. You know, when I first, you know, came to business name 2012 when we opened up, and I named it Ink Therapy because people were constantly, you know, clients were telling me how therapeutic it was. And I knew, like you said, Fawn, I would get to work with a million things on my mind. But once me and that client sitting there, that piece is so, I don't even know what the word is. There's just something that takes over at that moment that, you know, I mean, it's a Zen moment for you and them. And I think that transfer of energy between the people and the stories that come out, is something a lot of people are missing. So it's cool. That's cool. She had the picture of the award there. She won that at her first convention. So Resurrection Island was last year. And that was the first tattoo expo we got to work together. So that was pretty awesome to actually be set up in a tattoo booth for the first time with her tattooing. And they had a apprenticeship category. So she won her first award at her first tattoo convention with her first tattoo ever. So pretty awesome.
It was.
It's pretty special, really. Like most people don't start winning awards until they've been at it for at least a handful of years.
Yeah.
So
It was, I also think it was special, even though, I mean, I guess it still would have been special, but we were gone when they presented the award. We had went to lunch. And so they just gave it to my dad when we got back, and he like walked up behind me and he like presented me with the award and stuff. And I just started crying, and he was like, "I'm really sad that you didn't get to go on stage and you missed that. I'm sorry." And I was like, "No, I honestly feel like I'm glad that you gave it to me." But
Yeah, because, you know, like you said, Fawn, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I went years without ever winning something, and it's just nice to see that happen so fast, because it's cool, you know. And people went through that silly thing about, you know, oh, awards are nothing and tear them up. And I think that just shows respect for the art and the time you put in. It's not that it makes anybody cool, but it's like, it's a thank you to yourself for like the time you put in and from the art community, you know.
that's on my Uncle Jason. I've actually put some cover in it since then, but it's still not finished. He doesn't like to sit very well.
years ago, I did the Hillbilly Hootenanny cover with like all 5 of the characters and the rat rod on a good buddy of mine. I should try and find it. Yeah, I should try and find it so you can see it, because that looks like right on par for what I was doing.
That's awesome.
It's so funny because like that artwork is so distinctive and iconic. You can't fake it. Like all the like rat fink and
I
like
love it.
true collectors and stuff, they know it, and you can't fake it. But I like these super simple ones that you're doing too. Sometimes these little baby super simple, like where each line is so specific, like sometimes that's more of a challenge to artists than doing these big elaborate full color crazy pieces. And you're doing a great job with both. I just like to point that out.
I feel like I definitely take my time with my line work.
She loves 3-liners.
That's because I also like pepper shading, and I do it with my 3-liners. And that's what Sierra does. I told you I take a lot of advice from her. But I actually get a lot of compliments on my line work. That's what I hear more than anything when I get like emails and stuff. People are like, I absolutely love your line work. Someone emailed me for the Philly Tattoo Convention this weekend and was like, I love your line work and I would like to book with you. I'm like, I'm so sorry, we're not coming.
Oh, I'm missing that, man. I'm dying not going to that show. I want to go to the Philly show so bad.
The stuff that I really like to do, and that's on my friend Kate.
Yeah, like you said, I like you were saying, Fawn, like her lines are, crisp, her colors there, her shapes and shadings, for 1 year in, and just really just going at it.
Yep, she's doing great. Yeah, I've been your cheerleader for the last several months from over here. So I'm always, whenever I see your posts, I'm cheering you on. You're doing a great job.
That means so much. Thank you. And that is actually one of her own nudes that I used to make that.
It's pretty cool when you're using personal references like that for the clients too. Like you can always go and steal an image off the interwebs, but it's nice when you can like get your hands on either an original photo that your client brings you or something original of yours. That always makes it a little bit more special.
Yeah, well, I've seen kind of a lot of people getting like the mushroom women. They're all like different, but I was like, what if we use like one of your own nudes to make it like special for you? And she was like, oh my God, I love that idea.
I think it brings something to the client. It gives them that sense of being part of that process too. It makes it even, they're loved and they're happy anyway, but then you can add just that little bit to it.
I feel like also like a tattoo like that of your own body, like it definitely boosts your confidence. I feel like tattoos in general boost my confidence, but like that, like she's told me, like she's sent it to me actually, and like you make me feel so beautiful with the tattoos that you've put on me. Not just
Doesn't that make you feel good when you know
Yeah.
you've like boosted somebody else's self-confidence?
Yes, I love it. Like she went to a wedding recently and she wore like this nice short dress, and I tattoo her legs all the time, and she sent me like a picture of herself and she was like, I feel so beautiful and confident in this picture, and I feel like it's because of you and all the tattoos that you're putting on me. And like,
Yeah,
I don't know how much that means to me. Like,
that's another reason that ink therapy is such a good name, because sometimes just the act of like giving somebody control of their body and giving them the ability to choose what they put on it, they walk away feeling more like powerful and confident in their own skin. Like therapists, it takes years for therapists to do that, but like we can do it in one session.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's what I love about it, tattooing in general. And that's kind of why I love the Tattoo Expo and was, excited to bring it to Indianapolis, is because something like that's an event that people get to go to that, gives us that comfort space for all types of people, no matter what you are, who you are, what you like or don't like. I mean, you come in the Tattoo Expo and there's literally no room for judgment because nobody cares. You know what I mean? So tattooing it's so therapeutic. And I think, for the artist, but it's really cool when a client will reach out and tell you that, because a lot of clients are like the vampires we've talked about, oh, you've been here since 10 a.m. and it's 10 p.m. You sure you don't want to do this 4-hour tattoo on me? You know what I mean? Like, so when a client, sometimes we're giving out a lot of therapy and sometimes, I don't know if we're getting back as much reward because the stress of it starts to take over, like we were talking a minute ago, of the busyness and all the people you got to contact and everything. So when you get in that tattoo, it gives you that moment. And then when you get done, you can tell it's somewhat life-changing for some people. I've done some pieces where people just broke down afterward. And to me, it's like, I feel privileged to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Like, for the smallest tattoo, I feel privileged when someone lets me do that, because I think it's that special,
It's funny how sometimes the little itty bitty tattoos are just as like altering to a person as something like a full sleeve or a back piece. Like sometimes those little trinkets do just what they need in the moments that they need it.
Well, I was talking to one of my artists about it because I've been tattooing for 20 years, and I just don't want to do little small micro tattoos, and I don't want to do the grandma's name that's going to look like shit in 5 years. And I said, that's true, but here's the thing about it is they know it because they've seen it and you've told them, and it's not going to look good in 3 or 5 years or 10, but it has its place in time and it's special. That little tattoo, it's not meant to last forever, maybe. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that we get that are really meaningful that don't last forever. You know what I mean? So, and even if it doesn't look great in 10 years, you still reflect back and like, that was me and Becky when we were out, in Florida, and you can just really put together something, you know what I'm saying? Like it kind of has a timeline of your life. So even that small tattoo is important. And sometimes I think artists nowadays, because it's grown to such a big thing that, especially the really artistic ones, but let's face it, we all had to do some of their names to get it started, even no matter how artistic you are. So I think some people lose the importance of how important that small tattoo can still be.
I've met some of my best clients, like some of my best return, like huge collector clients by doing something little on them. Like I've got a husband and wife that both have like upper body suits, and they started with little tiny little like tattoos on their ring fingers, like itty bitty. And I've done so much work on both of them. And if I would have been like uppity and like, no, I don't want to do that, I would have shortchanged myself on that whole relationship with these amazing collectors.
Yeah, not only for the business and it, but like I said, for the relationship. Because I mean, when you're doing something that big, these people start to become, part of you, because you get that opportunity to put that work on. You get to build that conversation over the many hours. So yeah, I mean, you have to treat each tattoo like it is a back piece or something, and your bedside manner, like how you are with people. I think it's something that's kind of getting a little bit lost in. Well, I'm an artist, yeah, but you chose to be a professional artist though too.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I feel like. Guy and Jordan are about to join us any moment as soon as they get let into the chat. But one of the things that Guy says pretty often is every tattooer should be tattooed every year. So you like remember what you're doing to people, and you remember like you don't take for granted the pain you're causing. For me, as often and as heavily as I've been tattooed, it's always right at the tip of my brain. Like I want to treat my client the way I would want to be treated. So like I bathe my clients in Bactine, and I'm using like all the feel good butters on the in between, and like I'll spray the St. Mark holy water when I come back from breaks, like all the things that I want done. Yeah, it's great. I love it. But like all the things that I want done as a collector, like when I feel beat up and I feel defeated, and all I want is somebody to just be like, they're there, and just put their back on my shoulder, like, or their hand on my shoulder. Like I try to give that to my clients. Like that's what I want. And like when I'm going through these brutal days and I'm like earning what I asked for, can you still be nice to me? Like it sucks regardless, but can you be nice? Yeah. So that's how I try to treat my clients. I've never had a tattoo that didn't hurt. I've never had a tattoo that didn't humble me at least a little bit in some way. So I just try to be as empathetic as I can with my clients and give them the comfort that I would want, and give them all the like, oh, you want snacks? I got you. You want candy? I got you. You want drinks? I got you. Uber Eats? I got you.
Sometimes he says I'm too gentle and stuff with my
I'm like,
people.
Tattoo them. You gotta get the job done.
Well, I learned that. So here's a little piece of advice for you. Early on, I would just try to baby my clients. And in like the painful areas, I'd be super gingerly and slow. Yeah, I try to just be as delicate as possible. But now that I've been tattooed in some super painful places, I call it cruel to be kind. Like there are some areas that you just get in, work efficiently, tattoo it well the first pass, and then don't touch it again.
Out of there.
Like sometimes being gingerly and being ultra soft and like taking your time and being super kind, you're not making it hurt less, you're actually just making it hurt longer. So there's this funny line that like I walk every single day out of out of empathy, and that's being as kind as I can, like physically, like being as gentle
as
as I
efficient.
can, but working as efficiently as I can. And like, I'm not watching the clock when I say I'm working efficiently. I'm watching how much stamina my client has, and I'm watching how much pain my
Trauma
client's
to
in.
this.
Yeah. And that's the clock that I'm watching. And that's the, like, so
Now,
Yeah, I mean,
I also think that starts with the mindset too. Like you're saying, you baby them with the, the holy water and all the salves, but that also starts with the emails. Like, how did you respond to them?
Mhm.
Are you understanding that? That's why the first time you talked to me about this program, I loved it, because it was like, let's teach clients and artists how to understand each other. You know what I mean? Are you understanding that they don't know your job? So yeah, what they asked you
Mhm.
sounds completely ridiculous. And as soon as you explain to them, then they, if you're professional or well spoken enough to at least explain it to them to where they understand it, now they're really easy to work with. So
Mhm.
sometimes, that comfort even starts there, because you don't want them coming in after they've had a bad consultation with you, but now they've got a deposit or they just want it. They come in, their mindset's different because it's that moment you're giving them. So every step counts to,
Mhm.
how we break it down to when you get them in that chair, are they mentally comfortable? That's a huge part of it. I think she
Yeah,
does
that's
that. She
Yeah.
yeah,
spends a good
that's
for comforting people and getting them ready.
well, the throat tattoo that I did on my friend Sierra, I told her beforehand, I'm like, look, it's probably gonna be real painful, and like you're just gonna have to sit well and like let me get it done. And she's like, okay, like I want to do it all in one setting. I don't want to go back. And I'm like, okay, just be prepared, like for this. And I was like, but I'll spray you with holy water, like. And she ordered numbing cream. I had her order the I think it's called Sensa that you guys have.
yeah, that stuff's excellent. I really like it.
And it worked for her for a little while, but not across her whole neck. But
Well, also in certain areas, you have to apply a little bit less. You can't really
Mhm.
get carried away in areas with stuff like that.
yeah, but
One of the things with the numbing, like the pre-numbs and things like that, any area on the body that's got like the fattier tissue under the skin, like, like love handle areas, works great. Butt cheeks works great. Collarbones, not so much.
Yeah,
Ankle
it's like
bone, not so much. So where the skin is thin and it doesn't have that like fatty tissue just immediately under the skin to like
to
hold
absorb it.
that medicine in place, then you got a very small window. But
Yeah.
I like the prenums. Sometimes they are more hassle than they're worth, but sometimes just having that like 10 or 15 or 20-minute like ease into the pain, sometimes that alone can be really helpful. Like I
think
coach my clients to like not expect their whole session to feel like this, but this is going to be our head start, our ease into what it's really going to feel like. So
And I have some
I think
clients that like it for that reason. It's an
Mhm.
ease into. They're like, I know it's going to hurt, but it gives me a moment to get my mind right around it. And then I have another client who she said that's exactly why she stopped. She's like, I'd
Mhm.
rather just. She's like, because I'm sitting there for a half hour, and the next thing you know, my body's on fire versus it just slightly coming on fire. So
I
Mhm.
mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like I sat with Schultz for like 5 hours, I think, for this piece on my like the side of my thigh, and like the first 4 hours, like I didn't have any numbing at all, and I was like completely fine. He even was like, "Are you falling asleep?" And I was like, "No." And then like the last hour, he was like, "I'm gonna spray some of this holy water on you just to be nice." And I was like, "It's okay." And he was like, "I know, but it also just calms down your skin." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I'm like, "Wow, I don't feel you even touching me." And then like the last 10 minutes of the tattoo, I absolutely hated my life.
It crept back
I
up.
was like, I did not handle this. Like it's a moth, and the moth had like a tail, and he was just doing the tail. And I'm like, does it need a tail? It was terrible, but it also helps get through a lot.
I think like you said, working with them, like you were saying, Vaughn, trying to baby them through it kind of adds to their experience to the tattoo, and then they're not tortured with it.
Yeah, I mean, Sierra even said when I was doing her throat, like she was like, honestly, I don't think I would have made it through if you weren't so like considerate about what I was doing the whole time. And like spraying me when I needed it.
And
like,
verbally talking them through
and like,
it.
especially the throat tattoo, like she can't talk or anything. So I would have to like look up at her every once in a while to be like, is she okay? And
It's important just to stay in tune, like just that checking in. Like sometimes that's all clients need, to just like know they're not being brutalized just for the sake of being brutalized. But those just little check-ins, sometimes that makes all the difference.
exactly, that's what she said. She was like, you were like really considerate and mindful
Mhm.
of what you were doing. And she's like, I don't think I could have made it through if you weren't like that. But she sat the whole time. I love that piece.
So Jordan texted just a few minutes ago that he and Guy were trying to join us, but I'm trying to see where they're trying to come in.
Can't find them, huh? I see it.
I don't know.
No new screen just popped up on ours.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what did you think about the class the other day? I wish I had Sierra go. She had an appointment, so I didn't have her go out there. But I thought that's very important. Like, I'm loving the educating people on, the health, and, my thing is like on the financial and business side of it is what I'm loving. But going out to that was really cool, because it was like Derb said, it's a little bit of common sense, but we're so wrapped up in everything, you don't even think of how simple it is to sit there and do a different stretch, not the same one, like actually know a few things and then think about, like I went back and I was talking to my guys about like the belt thing, you know what I mean? Like, man, like
You're like, take your belts off. No
take your
belts.
belts off, man. Lose some weight, you know what I mean?
What?
Yeah, it's cool to be part of a team where like we're all pretty mindful of like how to take care of ourselves. And the nice thing is, it's like each break I take, I can do something different. So like one break, I might jump on the traction straps and hang for a little bit. Another break, I might like back bend over my yoga ball. Another break, I might use the rollers. So like each break, I'm switching it up, and I think that really helps. Like, also, like on my breaks, I actually like walk around too. I had a chiropractor one time. He was like, you need to take more breaks, because my sciatic nerve was inflamed and pinched and like horrible pain. So my chiropractor was like, you need to take breaks. And I was like, I do. I take breaks. I'll stand up, I'll stretch. He's like, no, you need to take breaks. And he broke it down like this. He was like, there is a reason that OSHA requires employers to give breaks every 2 hours. You need to move around. You need to use your body in a different way. And when I heard somebody else say that out loud, I was like, oh my God, you're exactly right. It never even occurred to me like that. It was just like, I should get back to work because I'm on my client's dime, basically. So when he was like, no, like legally, this is why you're supposed to walk around and move every 2 hours. You need to move. So from then on, I was like, so you think I should just smoke more weed? He's like, Fawn, that's not what I said. I was like, so like, I should just smoke more weed. He's like, no, that's not what I said.
Sounds
I was
right.
like, but in order to smoke weed, I'll like walk around, because my old shop was in a warehouse as well. So I would like walk around like our warehouse and then the like fenced in lot out back. So I was walking around probably an acre and a half. Yeah. So, but in doing that, I realized that like just immediately making that change, instead of like taking a quick break, sitting back down and going back to work. Instead, I would take like that 15 or 20 minutes and actually like walk and stretch and move and use my body in different ways. And immediately I started having relief. Like, in addition to what he was doing to correct the problem with my sciatic nerve, in addition to that, everything else limbered up and I stopped having all of my other like back problems.
Well, and also like we talked about the other day, your vision too. It strengthened your vision too, because you're not so.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we didn't get into this too much. I mean, we did talk about eye health and vision while Derb was giving his seminar, but one of the things that I like to advise people that are young in their tattoo career, get your eyes checked. Know how good your eyes are or aren't. First of all, get your eyes checked. Yeah, if you need glasses to prevent headaches and eye strain, get glasses. Make your life easier, and your eyes will be better later on in life that way.
Well, and you'll enjoy your daily activity better, and you'll be better to yourself and to your clients. And
I definitely need to go get new glasses. The
yeah,
glasses are very old.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be born with like freakishly good vision. So I have really, really good eyesight, and I always have since I was a little kid. But like, knowing this, I've always been like compulsive about sunglasses, and I've always been like mindful of eye health and like I eat a lot of carrots. I eat like orange vegetables just for that eye health. And, but anyways, all day long, we are looking maybe 8 to 10 inches away from us. Like we're in this very close up like box of visual. So since I started tattooing, I've always had not the biggest TV, and I set it as far away from me in my room as I can, so that once I get home, I am now working my eyes in the opposite way, and I'm looking as far away to focus as I can, just so I can keep that like at, that instant focus from far to close.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm 36 and it's been a couple years since I had my eyes examined, but the last time the lady doing the exam was like, nobody's ever read that line before. And I was like, I guess they're still good. So, so like when I can see itty bitty things really far away as well as
It must
super
be
close
that
up.
hot thing too. They say it's good for your vision. So
I have been medicating myself preventatively for glaucoma for a while now, and I feel like
it's working out, huh?
yeah. But that's something like, even though I have really good eyesight, I'm the first person to pull out safety glasses. All of my sunglasses are like Oakley or equivalent to, so they've got shatterproof lenses. So like, I'll use my sunglasses as safety glasses because like, it's one of my biggest fears. If anything happens to my eyes or my hands, my life is totally different. If I have a back injury, I can change the way I work. If I injure my hips or legs or ankles, I can change the way that I work. But my eyes and my hands, like those are, as a creator, those are my most important tools that I can't, if I lose the dexterity in my fingers, I have to change everything about my life. If I lose my visual acuity, I have to change everything about my life. So for me, like, I don't know, my eye and hand health is probably more important than like finances. Like those are things that are like always at the very top of my list. Yeah. Just, I can go broke and make more money with my eyes and hands. But if I don't have my eyes and hands and they're not in good health, I can't do the things that I need to do to make my clients happy, to make myself happy, so
about the good thing and the important thing about this program altogether, this Reinventing the Tattoo program, is bringing all this education and this different thought from everybody on here, because some people never even think about that until you just said that. And then they're like, they've thought about it in a small form, but not in like, damn, that really could change my life. So the importance of, educating people on the, the back and the stretching at Derb seminar, longevity of tattoo artists, us sitting here talking and you talking about your eyes like that. Me and Ron Fox talking the other day about just different aspects. And that's what I think so important about this website in general, is having that education base, because there's a young kid who, hadn't thought about the importance of having their eyes checked as a tattoo artist, because they're a tattoo artist and, they can see fine, but they don't realize they're stressing their eyes, and they don't need more light in the room. They need to take care of their eyes and get glasses or whatnot. And I've just had to, in the last few years, get glasses, and now I start to wear them when I'm tattooing. And,
I'm always supposed to have glasses and I don't wear them when I tattoo.
You should. There is, okay. I'm gonna put Jordan on blast a little bit, because I don't think he'll mind. But, and I've mentioned it, we've talked about it before together, but there was a time a few months ago before Jordan got glasses, he came to me and he asked me just like the most peculiar question about like, how do you work with this problem, basically? And I was like, and I like considered what he was asking. And I just like, cause I was working at the time. So I like stopped tattooing and I looked at him and I was like, how are your eyes? And he was like, what? I was like,
he's like, I asked you a totally different question, Fawn. What do you mean, how are my eyes?
Yeah. It was one of those things where like, I just see it, what he was asking me, because it was a pretty specific, nuanced question. I was like, I just like, I think to myself, like, I just see it. What do you mean? And that's where it was like, because I know my eyes are better than most. So it's one of those like sometimes I feel like I see like trauma, like hyper up close and almost like with crazy focus. So I always like to remind myself that maybe other people can't see each and every little needle mark. Like if somebody else is using a 7 liner, they might see 1 dot, where when I look at it, I see all 7 dots. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. You see,
Like
and
without even trying, I can see
you always see the
all
needle.
9. Yeah, I can see all 9 penetrations from my 9 mag, every mark, where I know not everybody's eyes are physically good to see that well without wearing like a loop or magnification. So it was just one of those, like, you should be able to see that. And then a few months later, he got his eyes checked, and sure enough, there was a defect in where his eyes were focusing together. So like where the focus, like the focal point of
blind
each
spot.
eye wasn't lining up right. So they would focus in slightly different spots, basically. Like that's my understanding.
So that's what she's saying. She's got, so she needs to get her
well,
glasses. Tell her.
Actually, you remember when I went to eye therapy?
Yeah, she used to have to do like some eye exercises and stuff.
And
like
I went to eye therapy once a week, and it was to correct that issue.
Yeah, well, and
I
there are
also have astigmatism in one eye.
there are eye issues that people will get into their adulthood and not even know that they have. So like my younger sister, for instance, she's got like her eyes, I mean, technically they're fine, but she has an eye, they call it, I can't remember exactly. If I thought about it long enough, I could think of it. But it's a lazy eye, but it's not a lazy eye where it's the muscles that move the eye back and forth. It's the muscles that actually like make your eye focus. So one eye focuses like this, and the other eye is kind of lazy when it feels like focusing and doesn't focus. So she was like 12 or 13, and she had to wear glasses for like 2 years, and now her eyes are totally fine. So sometimes there are things where like you just have to train the muscles. Yeah, you just have to train the muscles to work appropriately with the other eye, and then it's fine. So all corrective lenses aren't even a lifelong thing. And like now we've got things like the laser therapies, and like eye health is just such a different game than it used to be. And I don't think there's any excuse for an artist to let their eyes go bad. Like we've got all the technology, we've got quality daylight simulating light bulbs now. Like our eyes are our livelihood. Like it takes a lot of skill to do what we do, but without being able to see it, it's kind of lost.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever have laser surgery. It's scary.
I don't know.
Well,
it
I
sounds
had
scary.
Like, there's no reason to keep your wisdom teeth in. Everybody gets that done all the time. And then I had a terrible experience with that. So I just like to stay away from surgeries.
Yeah, but like your terrible experience might have been even more terrible if you waited till you were like 35 to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be true. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it could have been worse. Maybe not. I don't know the story, but
it could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, it got pretty bad.
Yeah, she had some dental work done in December, and then in January, like 2 weeks later, we're in the emergency room. She's on life support. It was a pretty intense January for me.
A month later.
This past January?
Yeah, just a couple weeks back.
Oh, that's
really.
crazy.
She's just
That's
now
crazy.
recovered.
Yeah,
Just got back.
I've just been.
And crazy thing is I go there, so it turns into an emergency situation. Long story short, she's now on life support, and I walk in, she's on a ventilator, which I wasn't expecting. So it freaks me out because, they tell me they're taking her into surgery. It's just her and I. Randomly, I got home from the shop, and it was like midnight, and I was like talking to her, and I knew she'd been having this problem. And I was like, maybe I should just drive over and look at it myself. One of those parent intuitions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I got there, I'm like, oh no, we need to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital in the morning, and then anyway, she ends up on life support. But when she wakes up, talking about her job and how much it consumes us, she still has the tube in her throat and wakes up and starts writing messages to me to cancel her appointments and stuff, like, so the doctor, I'm like, put her back out, she's worried about work already. And, she's still got the ventilator in and stuff. So she don't even remember that day of stuff. I'm like, that's how much she was. I'm showing her these notes she's writing me about. I got this appointment. Can you cancel this? And it's just funny when tattooing takes you, such a part of you that you wake up instinctively. And that's the first thing she was thinking about,
But I was
It's funny how
password and the people's names somehow.
it's funny how much tattooing consumes us. And I say that all the time, and I don't mean it as a complaint. It's almost like,
no, not at all.
it's funny to say out loud, but it's almost like the tattoo life chooses you. You don't choose it. It just chooses you. And when it does, it just like swallows up everything about you. So you've got
I
to
love
like,
that you just said that, because I
yeah,
told my client this morning, I was tattooing this kid this morning. I had an early morning appointment this morning, and I was tattooing him. And I was like, sometimes I'm like literally tattooing people, and I'm like, how did I get chose for this job? Like, and he looked at me, he's like, what do you mean chose? I'm like out of the universe, like, how did I get, like, sometimes I'm just in the middle of a tattoo and I'm just like, wow, like you got chose to be a tattooer. So like I said, and I always look at now too, I'm real aware of things going on. So like, when you say not consumed in a bad way, I don't feel like I'm consumed by tattooing, but then I look at things that other people are consumed by, and wouldn't you much rather it be tattooing?
I mean, tattooing consumes my whole life, but like it gives me so much back. And that's why like there's
It
this
gives
like
you your life too.
obligation to give back. Like the more I get, the more I give. But like it's because it has consumed my whole life. But in doing so, like I get to travel, I get to meet all these people that I look up to, I get to see all this amazing art and learn. And like there's just all of these gifts that I receive that like if it wasn't for this like all encompassing, just like devouring energy around art, like once you get sucked into it, like it's like the most delightful quicksand. If you get sucked in, you're not getting back out, but it's okay. You don't really want to, you know, you want to like bring people like, come on down, work hard and get
I think that was with me,
get
was trying to
devoured by this
do
too.
it, and that's kind of, exactly why I wanted her to get into it. She's single parent, raising two kids by herself, and, and tattooing, she does artwork with her kids all the time and paints and does stuff with them anyway. And, like I said, it's that kind of like, hey, you want to come down here and be consumed like I am and watch what it can do for you, because you also know the joy that it brings, in that peace of mind and that therapy that we're talking about, but also the financial freedom that kind of brings in this time to spend that time with your kids and stuff. When most parents can't be at that 12 o'clock play because they work, you can be. But yes, you're going on the weekend. You know what I mean? Because you got to go to a tattoo expo.
Yep. You might miss this, and this, but that's going to allow you to do this, and this with your kids. So that's the funny balance that I think all tattooers deal with, is it's so life consuming that if you let it fully take over everything, you can miss out on family time, and you can miss out on like the other important things in life. So that's why it's really important to keep our schedules balanced and make sure we are keeping days off for ourselves, and make sure that we are doing things that like for instance, when we went over to the Jiminy Peak event a few months ago, I invited my mom to go with me, and that could have been a disaster. I didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. Like, what it's like sometimes it could be a great trip with the parent. Otherwise it could be like, but anyways, it was just a really good trip. My mom like cooked for all of us and, kept us fed all week. And, we had like an extra person if we needed like errands run or anything like that. There was just an extra set of hands. Like she didn't know anything about the technology or anything else, but it was really nice that like, yes, I had to go on this trip. I committed myself to it, but like, would you like to come?
Involve people in it.
It's nice when the opportunities present ourselves to like bring our family and bring our kids and bring,
hopefully that's another good thing that hopefully she can learn, is because I unfortunately fell into that, to where sometimes it consumed me so much that I did miss times. There was a lot of times I was there because of tattooing, and there was a lot of times I wasn't, and sometimes I did. So as a parent now, she gets to see the difference and try to balance where dad kind of went a little bit too far. Hopefully she'll recognize it and find that balance. And sometimes that makes me and her butt heads too, because I'm like, it's all about tattooing, and just because it took me away from like, growing up struggling a lot more than where we're at now and where she's at. So it was like, I just tattooing took me away from everything. So I think that was just all of a sudden became my escape and my addiction for everything, and my answer for everything. And it's also given me everything. So it never took from me. So all of a sudden it was the one thing that had taken from me, and it took me away from everything else. And it got to where it was almost too much.
Well, here's the thing. You've been
first always. I love tattooing, but I'll never love anything in the world more than my kids.
Yeah.
But lets me be there for them also, like another job wouldn't.
One of the nice things, Chris, you've been doing this long enough that like you can see like what you couldn't see 10 or 15 years ago, like when your family was mad that you were on the road or upset that you were missing out. Now big picture, everybody got through that just fine, and you've progressed and grown so much in the community that you can give back to them in a way you couldn't have. So it's almost like the trade-off, like you missed out then to be able to give extra now, and to be able to give extra to like your grandkids, like where you might have missed out with your kids, you can make up for it with your grandkids. Yeah, the big picture. Jordan, what up?
Sorry. Got the audio on.
Oh, there he is, Jordan. You getting tattooed, Jordan?
Hey guys,
Oh, hey, guy.
What's up?
Jordan's pain level is up.
Yep. We're working on the upper cheeks, lower back. It's fun right now, but looking so good.
Is today day 2?
Yep. We got cut. Oh, I got my iPad and it's going, so we're getting some weird feedback. There we go. Still good.
Yeah, it's picking up.
Okay.
Yeah, not the other.
All right,
There we go.
So
Yep.
day 2.
Day 2, we got cut a little short yesterday on account of ice and Mother Nature. We got a little afraid of what the conditions were going to be outside because the hail started coming down like crazy and it was starting to drop below freezing and everything was freezing over. But we got lucky today. All kind of melted a little bit overnight and not too bad now. Still got a 5-hour day in yesterday though. So, I mean, still a good day.
We do have a storm blowing through right now, so we might have some bandwidth issues that come and go.
Guy, do you know Chris and Sierra Taylor yet?
Have we met?
I've met Guy a few times over the years, just at Hell City and a couple other conventions. He's not my daughter Sierra before, though.
Chris is the promoter of the Indie Tattoo Expo.
Okay.
His show was fantastic last year.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again, man.
Yeah, good seeing you. Looks like I'm a little bit more comfortable than you today, though. Although I'd love to get my back done, and I've said, like, recently people have asked me because my back is the only thing that's not really tattooed on me. And I said I won't get my back piece done unless I can get an artist who's going to work on me about 3 or 4 days in a row. I don't want, I mean, we're all so busy. A back piece from one of us could take, between our schedule and and your schedule. Next thing you know, it's 4 years into getting the back piece done.
Right. Yeah. Busting out these 2-day sessions has been great. I felt like this back piece has just flown by.
Yeah.
Well, this would be session 6 right now. But I mean, each time we've done 2 days. So it's just, third trip.
Really, anything less than 2 sessions per visit, and it's just going to take forever.
It almost wastes a lot of time and money for your client, don't you feel like? Because then, I mean, so far in between sessions that now you're kind of reworking back into other stuff.
There's a certain amount of that, and there's just that loss of momentum that happens.
Mhm.
When you're able to work a couple days in a row, you can get a good kind of pass over everything, or at least touch down on all the most unfinished parts in a meaningful way. But when you're only getting a day to address the entire back, especially if it's an out-of-town client who is having to, budget and plan and make the trip once a year or whatever, it's just going to be, I've had a couple of those.
It's okay, but it's not ideal.
Right, it's not ideal.
Right.
It's a much more rewarding process, I think. And in my own case, the pieces in my collection, the big ones, by and large, I've tried to handle that way too. Just have as much work done per visit as possible, so that you just want that momentum. Even people that aren't that far away. Sometimes, local clients I'll sometimes do 2 days in a row.
Yeah. Well, I like what Vaughn said the other day, just about taking on only a certain number of projects before you take on the next one, so that way you can keep those sessions somewhat close and get that completion too.
Right.
The thing that is I think really important, and not every client can do this, but at the end of every session, you just book the next 1 or 2 visits, so that seems to be a great way to keep the momentum going. Sometimes even with the best of intentions, knowing that they have enough time off from work and that kind of thing, if they don't at some point actually walk through the steps of planning it and putting it in their catalog,
I love to make people make the appointment before they leave for their next appointment. Usually, like, let's not, like, I'll contact you later. Like, we're both here. Why not?
Right. I usually discussion a little bit when it's going to be a big piece like that, beforehand, like asking how much, how are you, what is your plans? Do you want to come in like every month? Do you want to come in every other month? Do you have like, are you even thinking about that, and try to get a range of feeling them out. And then, every session I have with any client, it's a multi-session. I try to get it in, be like, hey, you want to set up that next session?
Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier, and that's why I was telling Fawn earlier why I liked when she first asked me to be on here, was talking about things of that nature, talking to your clients and getting them to understand what they're getting into before you get them into it. Because sometimes that could turn them into a bad client or a bad situation because you didn't let them know, hey, we should probably go ahead and schedule 3 or 4 appointments because it's going to take this. Versus, if you don't explain it to them and start to teach our clients what to expect and how to do it, kind of coach them through the process, you're only costing yourself later, Because if I'm like, hey, this is going to be probably 4 sessions, we need to schedule it out. Like you said, do you want to come in once a month, like financially, what is your situation? Time off work, what's your situation? And get all that done so that they're not like, man, I really love this piece, but I'm getting in every 6 months. So now they went and had somebody else do it because you didn't schedule it properly. So now it's not finished how you would want it or they would want it, but they're getting worked on. I think sometimes that teaching the client thing is very important here, and making an appointment before they leave so that it kind of, if you don't, like, they could get busy and not think about, like Guy was saying, and then they had the time off work, but they just didn't think about it in time to contact you.
Right. And I feel like there's this other thing, and me and Guy were talking about it yesterday, of where people think, they get a quarter or halfway done, and you have, maybe you're coming in for an entire sleeve and you've got an entire day, couple days or days down on an entire sleeve, but all you got is like just the rough shaded in grays or something really light. You really don't have any definition to anything. It still kind of looks like a sleeve because it covers your whole arm. People think it looks good, so they walk away, and they feel really comfortable walking around with this piece because it looks good. And
to them, untrained artists, it looks finished.
Right. Or it's the other way around, where they're thinking that you're almost done with it, and it's, they're not happy with it, and they don't want to come back because, everyone's looked at their tattoo and been like, what's going on with those lines there? What do you got planned for that and stuff?
Why is it so rough looking?
Right. And it's like, no, it's not done. But then people, I don't know, maybe they get more convinced and they just.
Well, I think that they might have a picture in their head of this sort of classic unfolding of the tattoo process, where there's this very clean outline, and then this very predictable sort of shading done in there, and then the color is added last, and it's
they don't see the steps in between.
Right. When you start seeing things out of order for what you're expecting, and then you think like, oh, there's shading there, so that must be the shading, and it's like you're not thinking about like the layering that needs to go into that shading. I need you to come back for the heel pass. It's like, yeah, because I just want to know where I'm putting that shading with that little gray that I put there. There is a lot to come, sir.
So yeah, of course, you always have the option of keeping a good library of photos and being able to show people some examples of it. Yeah, here's this piece, which you've seen of mine. It's one of my big, projects that I'm kind of known for, that I did last year or whatever. And this is what it looked like in the first session. You see how it's really loose. And, so they'll get it, but they still are going to end up getting, weird comments from people at the bar and that kind of thing.
And people's friends can get some stuff.
My partner, Michelle, she's done this kind of floral tattoo motif for many years. And for a long time, she was kind of running into that very problem where, she has a painter's background. And so she was approaching these pieces like paintings, kind of laying the whole thing out really loose and then refining in later sessions. But people had this impression that they were finished, but just not very good color, you know what I mean, or whatever. And,
Yeah, not well done. Like she just blocked it in there.
right. And so she kind of ended up just, instead of trying to re-educate the entire public, she just changed her approach with new clients. You know, she'll still, with established people, she'll tattoo how she tattoos. But with new people, she'll often just gray line the whole thing and then really trick out one part of it. And then each time they come, she'll trick out another part of it and maybe skim over a previously done area. So it'll end up getting done really nicely, you know, and you know, she'll have a chance to do the whole layout. But because there's parts of it that are just simply gray lined at any given time, people know that it's not finished, you know, you don't have to keep reminding them.
Yeah, gave a little bit of understanding to the client, and then they seen that little section so loud enough that they're like, okay, I want it all to look like that, so they're okay with the gray lines.
Well, and more importantly, you know, the people at the bar won't do some weird stuff. It'll be like, oh yeah, when you getting that finished, you know what I mean? Instead of why is it so scratchy?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does make a difference, you know, like, you know, people don't take that in consideration, you know, but what people are saying to your clients about your tattoo in between sessions can affect the outcome big time, you know?
Right? Yeah, it's a strange thing, but it is the truth.
Yep. And that's the thing when you're working large scale and you got big pieces that need multiple sessions, you encounter it.
I think years ago, Guy, didn't you used to take and like do your whole piece in like colored Sharpie before you would even tattoo it? Like,
Well, no, I don't necessarily do a color rendering in Sharpie. I'll use a dark, medium, and light Sharpie when I'm drawing.
Yeah.
You know, the light one is, you know, I'll start with the light Sharpie because I can be as loose and scratchy and imprecise as I want. And with base later, because once I've got it super roughed in, I can get a medium Sharpie and then kind of, you know, dial in the out
a little bit more.
right. And then finally the last pass, which will typically be purple, is when I'll do the really clean outline on it. And sometimes I'll shade it out a little bit. I'll mark in the gradients and the Posnag areas and that kind of thing, because a lot of the time I'm starting these things magnum first, and so it's nice to just not have to stop and think and wonder where should I be pulling my gradients in which direction, and that kind of thing. It's already all sketched in. So I do it to do it, but definitely don't do it for every piece. Everyone's got a different approach, and I use classical stencils for some things as well. Probably about half. You know, like, did we stencil this whole thing, or did we draw on parts?
We drew on a lot of it, and then we did have stencils for some.
Yeah,
I think we had stencils to keep some of the placement, but I remember you going through with a lot of Sharpie.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes stencils just make it easier on you as an artist. It doesn't wipe off as easy, you know, than a Sharpie. So it makes sense to work smart, you know?
Right. I feel like when you're working really big scale too, like even on like our piece and the way that we laid it out, I feel like it saves a lot of time from all the like trying to keep things, you know, make sure these things are super symmetrical, and you know, that's all. It just takes extra time when you're drawing it. If you know you can just get that down with the stencil really fast, I'm sure, you know, why not do that and then come back with the shading so you know where your gradients are going to be, you know, the direction of your gradients if you get a stencil down, but still go in a little bit freehand with that. I do that a lot too, where I'll lay down a stencil, but then I'll go through and kind of freehand some of the shade and stuff, and just to get a kind of a base rough thing. Because if it's like, could be a bio piece and I'm laying out a big piece on it, but I will want to do more around it and things and keep adding to it. I'll use that as kind of like the base structure for something that might be, say, more detailed, and then be really loose with the freehand and shade it in a bit. So I just know I can jump right in with a mag as well.
Yeah, I mean, you want to put down as much information as you need, but not necessarily too much more than that. You know, you don't want to rob yourself of the opportunity to invent and discover as you're working.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. How you doing? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here playing around with stuff on the computer. Sorry.
You got lost on us there, huh?
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Well, we were
Playing with things that are over my head.
So we were talking earlier before you guys got on here how tattooing is therapeutic for not only the clients but for the artist. And like how, you know, when you go into set into a big piece, like how it just takes you away from everything. And, you know, and even though that pain right there, that nice pain face, it's still a therapeutic, you know.
Oh yeah, I 100%. I mean, it's painful, but I still feel like it's like a meditation right now because of how much mental work I feel like I have to do to just like sustain myself and like keeping this inner momentum, like this inner calibration of pain and mind. Like, I don't know, because I could sit here, I could dwell on this pain and just like totally get into it and be like, oh my God, this fucking sucks and stuff, and just let that overwhelm me and just get caught in this spiral of anxiety and shittiness. But there's also like the where I'm sitting here just doing my best to sit still, use that pain as like a, I don't know.
Like Sierra's real good about, like, you know, talking to her clients and checking on them and keeping them calm, and the importance of that to keep that, you know, and I like to teach the professionalism before that, you know, like from your email to, like we were talking a minute ago, setting up those appointments and making it a nice, calm situation coming into it. What do you think about like that? Do you think that the beginning, like having this schedule ahead of time and knowing the situation and being able to communicate well, and then sit there and then let it all roll into one process, as far as like being mentally, being able to center yourself? Like if you had a pain in the ass getting with him, you're finally sitting there and you're kind of like, about fucking time he's working on me.
Those things. Oh, make it. I honestly, I think that would make it way worse for me to sit here. Like there was some weird interaction between me and him, or like, I don't know, I guess a lot of weird things, I'm sure. Or if there was, I don't know. The experience of all this makes it so much easier. I'm definitely, I feel like coming into a mind state, you know, if I was having any issues with my artist or there was weird miscommunications or something like that, I don't know, if I was more anxious and stuff, it could definitely make the pain more, just because I'm worried about anxiety and stuff. And I'm worried about all these other things going on around me, as opposed to just like honestly, it's a very pleasurable situation here. Like it's super inspiring place. Everything about this is really awesome. So I think it makes it so I can sit and deal with this pain so much better because of, you know, what a comfortable, safe spot, you know, that I know I'm in.
And well, that's why I like and I was saying the importance of this whole Reinventing the Tattoo website is educating, like this program is to teach clients and artists how to educate each other on the misunderstanding so that it can be comfortable like that. And as an artist, you're paying attention to what do the clients like. So now that not only did you answer the emails correctly and got them in, but now that Jordan's laying there, the environment that he's looking at is relaxing to him. Like you've learned and listened to your clients enough to do that. So I think that that's a really important thing about this program is to, like, what does it take to get that total zen through that process, you know? And that's I think the hard balance with it being such a busy industry right now for, you know, as an artist and as a client to understand that. So the importance of teaching each other is great.
Well, here's something I'd like to point out that I think a lot of artists forget. I mean, I certainly have to remind myself of this every time I tattoo. People will not always speak up on their own behalf. They're nervous. They don't want to offend you or, you know, whatever. They don't know you well enough that they feel comfortable speaking up. I mean, some do it almost to a fault, but it's better than the opposite, where next thing you know, they're, you know, running to the toilet or whatever to throw up. You end up having to really look for the signs, and, you know, of course, the flexing of the fingers from their arm getting numb. Usually that'll happen before anybody says anything. And so when I'm doing sleeve work, anything that involves an arm rest, I always start out and I don't ask them, hey, is it comfortable? I'll have them rest their arm on the arm rest, and I'll raise it up and down, and I'll say, tell me when it's the most comfortable. You know, I'll do the same thing with the angle on it. Then I'll tweak the angle. Tell me when it's the most comfortable. You know,
like an eye exam. Better here, better here.
Well, because people will just accept what you give them if not, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you said that you're doing that. Yeah, that's the way you put it. It's cool, whatever you want, I'll do. And then they deal with the
Yeah,
pain.
and they always say it. They actually say that. What works for you, man? And I have to remind them. Well, what works for me is for you to not have your arm going every couple of minutes.
Right.
So that's why we're doing this. Let's just say that it's for my own selfish purposes, and then maybe it'll work with me.
Yeah, for my selfish reasons, I need you to sit very well.
Yeah, so right now we're working the kind of kidney areas, and the position that Jordan, not everyone does back pieces this way. And, you know, sometimes for the lower back, I'll actually lay the person down on the table, but even then, you know, the lower back goes kind of concave. And I just really like the stretch
Right.
that I get in this position, and the fact that I'm able to sit in a very, you know, neutral, upright back, you know, good posture kind of position for hours and hours here.
Honestly, I love it. I love sitting up like this.
And the better position you sit in, Guy, the easier you can be on taking care of the skin, because you're not getting into that back problem where you're leaning into him. Now you're 5 hours in, you know, because he's already stretched out. So that's important to have them sitting well so that you can sit well, right?
Right. And then you don't need to, I imagine you don't need to change the side of the table that you're working on either. If you got them laying flat and then you got to go to the other side to get to the other side.
Right.
Or reaching over their entire body.
There's always places that are just hard to access, and you end up only having half of it that you can get to. Where with this approach, you pretty much have access to the entire back. You know, I mean, we have to raise it lower here and there. Like right now, Jordan is raised up high and I'm down low, and that's just perfect for marking this tramp stamp zone here. Getting that at eye level, sitting without any kind of bending at the waist. So, beautiful thing.
I did my first lower back tattoo the other day. Like, I've done like upper back tattoos, but I did my first lower back tattoo the other day, and I had her laying flat, and Kenny came in there and was like, absolutely not, have her sit up and stretch that. And it definitely made it a lot easier for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for-
The body's concaves and gets, just like he said, like I feel like if you got someone laying down, like especially like where the back meets like the butt right there too, or the hips, they just get so concave. And then if they're like on their side or something, then you just get huge dips. I feel like you just feel like that concaveness just totally flattens out, I imagine, for you, Guy, when you're sitting like this.
It did, and it stretched it out so much for me. I actually took pictures of it like stretched out and not stretched out, and it's dramatic.
Dramatic feeling. Well, the important thing about that is remembering too, though, especially if you're using a stencil or something, when that stretches out like that, follow your stencil, even though it looks different.
Oh, right.
How many times, you know, somebody like, well, you know, they stretch it and it makes that line look funny, and they want to follow what they think versus that line, and then
I mean, I think
Right.
it was like my 7th tattoo. It was on the rib cage, and I placed it with them standing up, and then she like laid down and like stretched out, and I like looked at you and I was like, oh my god.
yeah.
And he was like, no, it's right. You got to follow the stencil. And I was like, are you sure? Because it looks completely different.
But I told her to have that girl, you know, raise her up and have her stretch out like that for her. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it and you have that reaction, just have them stand up again and look at it and you're like, okay. And then,
I think he did have her stand up again, and I was like, see, it's the same. And I was like, that's crazy.
It's just crazy how the body twists and distorts, and it's one of those magic things that like not only do we have to like work with that, like we have to design for it. You know what I mean? Like
One of my favorite parts is that
Go ahead.
like when you adapt to that, it's like that's where you get the most fun with a tattoo. Start like enhancing those twists, and where it starts to twist, it looks 10 times better. It's like, oh yeah, twist your arm real quick. Like I love it when like I finish a sleeve or something and a client you know, they're looking in the mirror and I'm like, here, let me take a video and watch you like twist your arm real quick and like see how this looks like once you're really seeing that movement that we got going on there. And I don't know, I love that.
well, like
You're
with this
taking
design,
advantage of it.
the longest arcs in the design are down here in the part that twists the most, you know, because I figure it's going to be distorted a lot of the time. So let's just make it all loose and flowing to begin with. So those distortions look good, not bad.
Yeah.
More static part of the design is placed in the center, and of course it can still twist and turn and flow all it needs to. But you know, the looser elements are the part of the body that flexes the most.
Something that I know you've taught for a long time is using the body and correctly to help the tattoos go along and stuff. I actually I have to dig it out and get it to Sierra because I've got it probably, I don't know, 15 plus years ago or something. Out of Reinventing the Tattoo, took that seminar a long time ago, and so I have the binder, and a lot of it was about body placement and using it like that.
Yeah. In fact, that's this week's exercise. This coming Monday, subscribers who are in on this trimester are all going to get drawing in a body part template. We're going to have a hypothetical client, and we're going to do a bunch of thumbnails and work on the flow problem.
Nice.
So, at the very core of design, and one of the things I love about the whole idea of the human body being this flowing canvas is it's just affected how I make art across the board. When I design for my paintings, something that has got no intention to ever be put on a human, I still look at the way that it flows and twists and turns and think in terms of how it might look on a rib panel or something like that. Not because I want to put it on a rib panel, but just because it ends up being a much more dynamic design.
Gives a little bit more to it than just splat on a canvas.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're used to working in this. Yeah, not only is it twist and turn, but it's got this whole dimensional topography to it. And so when you do end up going back to a flat canvas, you're still kind of thinking the way that you think when you're designing for a sleeve. You're thinking, okay, this is actually curving away here, and this is, going to reconnect on the other side here. And, I think designing for sleeves gives artists sort of a higher dimensional way of seeing the design problem rather than just thinking flat. It's a great exercise.
I think that's a good point. I guess I never really thought about it like that, on how much, trying to make those connections, trying to see something two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and then see how these S shapes and how these curves and stuff are going to connect in different places, and then how that can look aesthetically pleasing. I can definitely see how that affects art, even so much art and things outside of that.
Well, I see, like you're saying, thinking about it on the canvas now and it affecting how he paints, because it adds a dimensional flavor to that thing, because you can see it though in that rounding of a process. How does that three-dimensional object go all the way around something and connect?
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's always the sleeve conundrum.
The tattoo art form. I remember first coming into it and just thinking, wow, this is so untapped right now. This is 1988. And, Ed Hardy had put out the Tattoo Time books. And so there was some kind of proof of concept. Oh, all right, yep, this has got huge potential. This could go anywhere. And, of course, I was a Giger fan back then. And there were a few Giger tattoos that had been done, some good ones, as proof of concept. Ed Hardy had even done a little bit of it on Philip Blue. There was a Paul Jeffries half sleeve of just straight up Giger paintings walking around the first convention we're going to.
Nice.
Paul Jeffries being an artist who primarily does Japanese style.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, back then you couldn't go to your local biomech specialist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh yeah, you couldn't.
The fact that you actually would have your choice of people, a few people in the tri-state area who do actually really good bio that you can choose from, That's just sort of crazy when you think about it.
Well, and that was the importance of tattoo expos back then, was that was kind of how you could get to the people that didn't, that didn't have different or the same style. Now, like you said, there's specialists everywhere, but back then you go to the tattoo expo to find that.
Yeah. If you had a portrait that you wanted done, you had to wait. And when they came into town, you'd have 3 or 4 really good portrait artists to choose from. But yeah, now you've got, I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
That now there's capable people in every style, almost everywhere. That means that this industry is lit, and the quality control seems to be a thing that happens naturally. Because, let's face it, it's obvious what is a good tattoo and what isn't.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that. What do you think, like body wise and stuff, even on the smaller pieces that you do, like just telling people the correct place to put it and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's been a couple people that want me to place the tattoos upside down technically, and I've tried to convince them otherwise, and they're like, no, that's just how I want it. And I'm like, ooh.
The that would be the only way I would ever do a tattoo is if it's something that would look good in both directions.
Yeah, I think it just bothered me because the other tattoos on the arm were facing the opposite direction.
Right, yeah.
And
It's a gimmicky thing to want. It's like, oh, I saw this thing on Pinterest, and yeah, and I
just
love
want to
it,
be able to see it.
That's what I want.
I just want to see it.
yeah, I hear
I've
that.
got a sleeve that I did not too long ago. Within the last year, we completed it. Maybe it's been a little more than a year, but all of the images on the sleeve were taken off of like her family crest. So like all the like heraldic imagery, you know what I mean? And we put it on her right arm because she already had a left sleeve. And one of the conundrums we ran into was, do I mirror these symbols that are on here? So they're facing, because there was like a dragon and a lion. I was like, so do we flip these so they're facing forward on you? And she was like, no, they have to face east or west or whichever it was. So she's got a sleeve that has these 2 prominent characters on it that are like, to me, they're totally facing backwards, but for her, they need to be facing east. So it's not a right or left or forward or back. They need to face east. So it's like, so it's one of those, like, visually, I feel like it's incorrect, but for the historic value and the importance that it's supposed to have, like, it has to be facing that way. So that's one of those, like, yeah, it's one of those where, like, if we would have compromised and flipped it, then it would have been wrong. So, but she and I had this discussion. So it's one of those, like, I didn't just put it on backwards. Like, we had the discussion, like, will it change like the clan that this represents if they face the other way? And we did a little bit of homework, and the answer was absolutely. So for Megan, that's my client's name, for Megan, her tattoo for the general onlooker is going to appear to be backwards, but if you know the heraldic symbolism, it's forward. So it's a conundrum that like still kind of like irks me a little bit, but like we had the discussion to make sure it was what she felt was correct. So it would look better if, but then it would be wrong, and I get it. So there's always weird exceptions, but I feel like that was one where, like, I think it looks like it's flying backwards, but it's like the American flag where you put the blue, like it may look correct, but it may be backwards when somebody looks at it, or, like symbols like that. Sometimes there's all the rules, but sometimes there's still the out of the box.
Yeah. So then it's upon you to design the sleeve so that there are enough elements that flow the right way that it works.
Yep.
Maybe I'll get to do a sleeve.
Oh, it'll happen. You're just getting started. You're doing great. That's the nice thing about this. Projects get bigger as you're ready for them. And, people will start trusting you with bigger, like the more work you do, the more people will trust you, and just naturally the trust of the size of projects grow, and you'll be doing sleeves and back pieces in no time. Don't rush it.
Well, like you
Enjoy the
said,
little pieces.
like you were saying earlier too, Fawn, you know, when people can see all the mechanics, the line work and everything that she's doing,
Mhm.
that's what grows into those pieces, because people get to see her, you know, you kind of, like, I love when I get to see her do some bigger pieces. I'm like, right on, but I also love seeing her do all these small pieces because I get to see those mechanics, and that's the value of tattooing, is the mechanics first, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, early on, I ended up trading a back piece for like a cheap air conditioner. Because I needed an air conditioner, but I also felt like I needed a back piece in my portfolio. I was doing a lot of larger work. But it was fun once I started showing that piece. I didn't post it because we didn't have that back then. People were like, "Oh wow, I didn't know you did back pieces." And it's kind of like, well, you see me do large work. Why wouldn't I be able to do that on your back, right?
Yeah.
They needed to see a back piece from me to be able to say, I want to get a back piece from God. And after that, I started getting a lot more back piece requests, and strange but true. And I don't want to keep saying things that make the clients sound, you know, like they're mindless or whatever, because they make the industry go wrong. No, this is not about them. This is about human nature. You know, I mean, I made a lot of the same stupid mistakes when I was a young collector, you know, hand poking an outline of a skull on my arm and saying, "Hey man, can I get a discount if you just color this in?" You know, I actually did that. You know, I was 16, but still, I didn't know. So assume that they don't. And,
Right.
Okay. Your job to fix it.
Yep, that's right.
Because I always knew.
Yeah, I think that's the thing you have to know, is that's part of the job, is assuming they don't know and explaining it to them. And
Right.
sometimes getting that customer that's going to let you do that back piece, like I said, find somebody that's, you know,
Right.
once you get to a certain point, and she's got some friends that are probably right now are like, "I'd let you do it," and she's like, "Just give me a minute," you know.
Oh my gosh, my friends are ready to be covered, which they already kind of are. They stay in the shop every month, at least once.
But once you get that one to let you put that big piece on you, like you said, some reason it just opens up everybody else's eyes to, well, I want one too.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you start going bigger, then people want the bigger stuff.
You
I
know,
swear,
right?
point of really, really wanting to do big work, and my clients were all like small pieces, but I was just so ready to go bigger, and like I wanted it so bad. It's like the number one mantra I had in my head was just like draw for the job that I wanted. You know, if I want a big piece, draw a big piece, do everything it takes to draw the piece the size of what I'd want to tattoo it, whatever the elements were, and someone's gonna see it, someone's gonna want it. And like as you're tattooing becomes to a point of where it's, you know, that can you know you'll be able to pull off the drawing, because if you do the drawing, you've already learned what it takes to draw that drawing, however scale, size and stuff, you're halfway there to being able to tattoo it. And then if your tattoo skills and mechanical knowledge where it's at, then you'll be able to apply that piece. But you know, I was never getting big pieces off of like, oh, I hope someone asks me for a big geometric piece, and then realizing like, oh, I'm not doing big geometric pieces, I'm doing really small ones right now. Everyone keeps calling me for these small ones. And it was just like, as soon as like I had like did a couple mock-ups of big arms, it was like, bam, I got one person in. Oh, I just put all my energy into that. It was just like, I'm going to show out on this one to see the best that I can. And it's after that, someone else seen that. And then it just kind of kept going from there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I've started bigger pieces. Like I just started this one on this woman's side that I'm really excited about, and I get to finish it next month. And I can't wait to post that because that's something that I really
Nice.
like to do.
Yeah, until people see it, you know. And it's crazy because like you could go in the opposite too. Like guy does all these bigger pieces now, but if he started saying, "Hey, I want to do hand-sized bangers," and posted out a few of them, and people got them, the next thing you know, that'd be a line of people saying, "I just want a small piece from him," you know.
It's
Right.
so funny. Stacia, one of my collectors, she's collected work from a whole bunch of different people. But her collection is mostly like it's kind of on the traditional side. So all the stuff that I've done on her, I've done so it like blends in with what she has. So like it definitely has my like flair to it. Like you can tell the pieces that I did. But Brian Midkiff, every time he sees her collection, he's like, Fawn, I can't believe you can do traditional stuff too. And I'm like, well, yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
got
it's
the
just,
mechanics down.
yeah, it's just funny that like Stacey's collection has been brought up a couple of times over the last like week. And it's like, I didn't know you did that too. It's like, I mean, yeah, if that's what my homie wants, it's what I'll give him, but I think it's really important when somebody's already got an established collection and they want me to add to it. I think it's important to have cohesion in a collection. So like, I always like to look at somebody's like all the tattoos or all the tattoos in the area that I'm working on and like bring it to a culmination. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not about me or what I want to do. Sometimes it's about like what needs done in this collection and how can I add a piece that's going to fit in perfect, but still shine with like my
Find
flair.
that balance of your style, but blending with their personality.
Yeah. I don't want my stuff to stick out like a sore thumb, but I want it to like fit in beautifully. I want it to fit in and just be an additional part of the collection with like I said, my style, my flair to it a little bit, but like sometimes it's more important to make the tattoo look like it belongs on the body than to make it look like it specifically came out of my hands. Do you know what I mean? Like all collections require different care and different consideration. So I don't know. There's always that like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like we all want to work in like what we want to work in, but sometimes there's a lot of fun in just like stepping outside of that bubble a little bit and making it so that it flows with the whole collection. And, it's like we can do what we want to do every day, but sometimes it's like when you add those extra challenges to make it flow and make it tie with other work, you've got to do what the project calls for, not necessarily what, you would do on every other project.
That's what's kind of about the get what you get machine that we got, because no matter what artist gets it, you don't know whose artist design is going to come out of it. So that makes everybody dabble into each other's stuff.
Yeah, when we do
because it makes me push myself, because there's things that I wouldn't really try because my confidence isn't very good. I mean, that's why I kind of waited with my apprenticeship, was like my confidence level. But every time I push myself because I have to or something, like I impress myself.
To match that style or something.
Yeah, I'm just afraid to do it sometimes.
Yeah, but you improve by hanging back and not doing it. That's going to probably achieve. It's time to dive in.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot, and like I feel like I do a lot of different stuff. I don't really have like one specific style.
But a year in, she shouldn't really have too much of a style yet.
Like that's because I want to like push myself, because maybe there are things that I don't think I would want to do, but if I pushed myself to do it, I would enjoy it. But there's also things like I have done, but I don't post them because I don't enjoy them. Like tribal, I've done them, but I don't enjoy it, so I don't.
That's fair.
And that goes back to what I was saying, until you posted that back piece, so if you post one tribal piece, you're doing 15 of them now.
Yep. That's the thing. Your portfolio, when people see it, they're not just thinking, oh, this shows their skills. They're thinking this is a catalog of what they're offering.
I mean, also like I did some
I never thought of it like that, like a catalog of what you offer. Yeah.
To prove this point, like the rainbow butterflies that I did some rainbow butterflies and I posted them, and I cannot tell you how many butterflies I have tattooed. I have tattooed more butterflies than absolutely anything, hands down. After I posted those, I do probably at least one butterfly a week.
She posted a nice set of them, and it's like, oh, you do butterflies.
What's that, guy?
When there is a demand, it's nice to be tap into it, right? Learning part of your process. You're not trying to say, okay, I'm only doing this particular style of black work, whatever. It's good to be versatile. To start out versatile. This stage of your career, that's exactly what you want.
And sometimes even if you don't end up doing a certain style, you can take some of that versatility, go back to what you thought you just wanted to do, but add that little bit of that, what you learned from those other ones. And now, like Fawn said, you can still make it cohesive with the piece, but then it's got that little pinch of you because you were so versatile and everything else.
Mhm.
I really do think it's really important to explore, also as a tattoo artist, explore as many styles and things as you can when you're first starting. I mean, that's just kind of how I was when I first started. And so it's like kind of what I know. I just feel like it helped me so much when I started developing my style. Like it took a while for it to catch on. I was even painting in ways that like were very stylistic, but like, you know, to like to me, but they didn't transfer over to tattooing very well for a long time. I didn't think about tattooing in a way of like painting and stuff like that, or like jumping in mag first and things. I just had this weird different structure of what a tattoo was and how to do it. But I feel like going through all those things strengthened everything that I'm good at now so much, because it gave me so many more fundamentals, and I kind of threw myself into the ringer just trying to do every tattoo that came my way and like I beat myself up about it when I was first starting. Like when I was like 18, 19 working, like I just remember being like just so worried about every tattoo, so worried about the drawing being perfect, so worried about the tattoo being perfect. And I don't know, I don't think that stress is all great, but I definitely think that it made some diamonds out of it, because it pushed me to just want to work so hard to do a good, like learn whatever style it was. I remember back then, you know, I'd get a traditional tattoo and I'd be researching traditional tattoos for the next couple of days and just trying to figure out like what it is, like why is it structured this way, like what is it that
What does traditional mean?
right. And then you know, we get a new school tattoo or another style of tattoo, and it's like I would spend some time really delving into that style. And I think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know as much about tattooing now either, where I'm able to talk about those styles and what they encompass, and like what, you know, when someone's asking me what they want, I'm able to communicate all those things. We got some crazy thunder here.
Yeah.
Is it going crazy?
You hear it?
Nope.
Sounds like bears on the roof. Big one just dropped on the roof.
Yeah. But yeah, here's another thing that I would like to say. Very important here, since we're talking about this. Let's just say, and some of these listeners out there are this person. You are in a part of your artistic journey, right? And you're looking at all this amazing art. You feel intimidated. You're wondering what your style is going to be. You look at all these styles. What is my thing going to be? Well, the thing that you got to remember is your thing is a thing that doesn't exist yet. It exists in the future. Just like the styles you're looking at right now, a lot of that stuff, like the way that it looks right now, none of that was around 2 years ago. It's all evolved just since then. It's evolving quickly. So your thing, it doesn't exist yet. At least it shouldn't. You shouldn't be striving for your future to be something that is already around right now. Learn from the stuff that you're seeing right now. Learn what you like, the things that you think are attractive, but you're going to synthesize out of that something that should be uniquely yours. And that's going to be there in the future. It doesn't exist yet. So that's the thing that should be forming in your mind's eye.
Yeah, that's what very, very, very well said. I think that's a great way of seeing that.
Yeah, when we were doing that.
That's good words for everybody.
What was that, Jordan?
I was just saying, I feel like those are great words for everybody. Like I feel like it's inspiring to see it that way.
Yeah, when we were over in Dayton while Derb was doing his longevity seminar on Sunday, at the like last hour and a half, it was like an hour and a half of longevity of the artist and like an hour and a half of question and answer. And I just thought it was kind of like, maybe cute's not the right word, but I thought it was kind of like sweet, cute, whatever, that like all of the apprentices, like they were asking such vague questions, like, how do you find your style and how do you succeed in tattooing? And it's like, well, first of all, like the answer to both of those is just keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like the answer is just keep doing it and you find your way.
Like Guy said, though, I mean, the way he explained it, though, to them makes them not, because they're looking to be what's existing now. Like, how do I pick out of what exists right now, which one is mine? I gotta pick one. And like he said, you don't, because you're going to create something off of all of those.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to put it, Guy. Thanks.
Yeah,
I remember being,
I feel pressured about it is because people ask me all the time, what's your style? And I tell them, like, I don't really know yet. I'm seeing what I like and what I'm good at still, and just trying everything. That's what I tell people. But I get asked all the time, like, what's your style of tattooing?
As an early tattooer, your answer to that question should be challenge accepted. That's my style of tattooing. Challenge accepted. Now, I thought about things like that a lot the first few years that I was tattooing, because I didn't have an apprenticeship. I didn't have somebody to show me the ropes. So a lot of the things, I felt like I was always swimming upstream to try and learn the best way to do things. But I was learning by myself through like trial and error, like very cautious trial and error. And it's one of those, like, the style comes like, just like the more you do it, like, I don't know. I feel like early on, everybody wants to know what their voice is, but like, you don't find your voice, you don't find your style, you don't find that until you know what you're capable of. And then like, once you know what you're capable of, you start to learn what you enjoy. And then you start combining what you're capable of with what you enjoy the most. And then that turns into something that's a whole new thing. And then when that magic starts happening, that's when you're finding your own style. But just like I said in Dayton, you know, if I were to pick up my binders that have all of my like freehand stencils and stuff that I drew the first couple of years, if I flip through those now, like 13 or 14 years in, you can see hints, like everything was hand drawn by me. So like even my lettering and stuff, there's certain rhythms and certain like cadences that you see in things. And there's certain like design elements that like are just in me. So like rules of like 3s and 5s are in all of my early drawings and things like that. So like, where those first few years, I didn't think I had a style at all. When I look back at it, it's like, oh, it was there the whole time. It was there all along. And I didn't see it with my own eyes because I was trying so hard to like move on to the next. So I didn't even realize that I already had a style that people were coming to me for. I just didn't see it myself, but it was there. Looking back,
You were
it's there.
developing.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Sometimes it's
Yep.
hard to see the middle of it. When you look
Yep.
back and you're like, all right, yeah, there's a pattern here.
Oh, that's
But yeah, learning what you like and you don't like, you know, you don't learn that without going through it.
That's the core of it, though. That's where your style is going to come from. Like, you know, I remember being 11 years old and coming across a Max Ernst painting in a book. And looking at it literally for hours. I spent the afternoon just digesting that thing. It's a very organic landscape. And I remember thinking that I wish that I had painted it. Right now, I'm only 11, of course. There's no way anybody painted that thing. I was looking at every brush stroke and imagining what it would have felt like to make those brush strokes. And that's what you should be striving for, is to create the art that is going to give you the feeling while you're doing it. You want it to be, you know, don't ask yourself what's popular right now, you know, what's going to get me a lot of likes, but instead, what are you going to like? What's your favorite art? You should be trying to be your own favorite artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's therapeutic to me when I tattoo. I want to enjoy it when I do it. I don't want to ever feel like I'm rushing through a tattoo or just trying to get it done. I want to put everything into it and love what I'm doing.
How you doing, Jordan?
We're on the flanks over here. We got a little lower back action. It's bouncing. It's going from middle center back to this kind of kidney outer edge.
Well, I'm actually about to give him a little Vectine soak for a second and switch to detailing. So I think from now on, it'll be good. I've just been blasting away at him with the Magnum. I've covered a 8 by 12 inch area in the last hour and a half. So
Did you tell Guy about your new nickname?
Not the worst. My new nickname?
Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
Dry wipe. Dry wipe Ruckus.
I was telling her about how when I'm in a stenciling process that I tend to dry wipe. If I'm just doing black outline and I do that, I don't want to lose my stencil.
But then you have to like wipe more, and it's all this.
But see, I never do that. I'm more of a dabber because I don't want to pull the stencil out too much. So it's just kind of like a quick little dab and go. But then once I have
Dry wiper.
once I got all stencil down, or if I know the stencil is very, very secure.
Dry wiper.
Dry wiper.
You know, you can wipe them with just water and no green soap in it and leave the stencil there a little decent.
I don't use water. I use a dry towel and Vaseline.
Yeah, I don't use green soap at all. I use Castile soap, but I really tend to only use water and Bactine most of the time until like the very end when I'm washing things off completely or shaving and stuff.
Jordan's like, nah, I just use 80 grit.
80.
Okay, I give Jordan a hard time. He's not really a dry wiper like that. Oh, I'm just teasing.
Now I'm doing it out of spite.
And depends on who
Don't
you're
dry wipe
tattooing,
out of
right?
spite.
I'm just kidding. I would never do that. I'd never heard anybody.
Well, Kenny said his client said he think wipes. Like he wipes it while he's like sitting back and like looking as he's thinking about what he's gonna do. And she's like, "Can you please stop think wiping me?" And he was like,
I think Derb does that. I've watched Derb work and he'll just like keep wiping the same area. It's like, Derb, I think it's
Yeah.
clean. But he's like looking somewhere else and just like fidgeting while he's thinking. But I like that think wiper. That's a good one.
Yep. Detail does not always work the best with water and wiping when you're just trying to keep that stencil.
Mm-hmm.
Got a dry wipe. Try it out.
Try out the dry wipe. But you can like, I do like the dry blotting sometimes, but I'll do like I've taught her. You know, I put Vaseline on there so that way when you wipe it, it's not such a dry wipe, but that Vaseline keeps enough to not let the ink smear everywhere. You know,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't use Vaseline actually. I use A&D.
yeah, I mean that's what I used to.
Always Vaseline, or whatever you're using for that.
Yeah. But another one of my artists, he showed me not too long ago, and he takes and like puts the stencil on, dry pats it, and then he'll take a paper towel and get it pretty much soaking wet and pat the purple stencil with that, which sounds frightening, right?
Like
But
with the paint.
With a wet paper towel, he pats the stencil with a wet paper towel, and it pulls off all the excess, and that thing's on there like Loctite. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, in some patterns, you're like, I don't want to put a wet paper towel on my, real detailed pattern because you're afraid that it's going to smear it out. But yeah, it takes and sprays it down with a spray bottle, gets it wet. So the towel's fully wet, presses it on the tattoo just flat, doesn't move it, pulls it straight up. And it pulls so much of that extra transfer off that then that transfer don't smear and it's like locked in there.
Okay. I like that.
I
Check
did
it out.
not. We argued about you telling me to do that, but I do it every time now, and it really does work.
Yeah, first she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'm telling you.
I was like, "You're insane. Why would I do that?"
Mike Shaw taught me that. He does a lot of traditional work. It's Mike Shaw, he's Shaw Tattooer on Instagram. But he was like, do that. I'm like, I'm not gonna put a wet paper towel on my fresh stencil because you think it'd blur it out.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's like magic. Really locks it on there.
Yeah, it's like by wet, you got to it's like you dunk your paper towel and then you wad it up and wring it out as much as you can. And then when you lay it, it just lifts instead of like smearing away. It just lifts all that excess purple and it leaves perfectly stamped underneath.
Yep.
Yeah, I do it every time now, and all my clients are always like, "Oh my god, it's so cool how it prints on the paper towel."
Yeah, because at least the print on it. Start selling it.
Last night, Sid and I, Derb's son, Sid, he's at the very beginning of his apprenticeship, but he and I were tattooing some giant grapefruit. So we were having like the stencil lesson. And I told him, I was like, if you can get laying a stencil down on this grapefruit, you will never struggle putting a stencil on skin. And while we were making the stencil, he's like, well, won't it be hard to lay the stencil? And it's like, well, I mean, if we've got the choice of how big to make it, why would we want to challenge ourselves with a stencil that's too big for the item we're wrapping it around? So there were all these little, you can make 2 little stencils instead of 1 big one. So you don't have to worry about that warp around the round shape. So there's all these little, just little tricks just to getting a good stencil. We could spend 2 days talking about stencil tricks before we even open a needle.
I seen you guys were tattooing grapefruits last night. Well, what you end up tattooing on them?
You know what? Let me go grab them. Hang tight.
Yeah.
I mean, I said when I first started laying the stencil was like the hardest part and dealing with the plastic wrap because I had to figure that out.
You know what I learned from Russ Abbott? That I did a seminar from him at like his tattoo explorer thing, him and Teresa Sharp put on. And that what he did, he took like, so he was so great for it. I imagine that being more like, you know, a shoulder or like a head or something like that. You're trying to fit something on a head, so you're trying to fit around that round surface. He literally crumpled it up into like a fucking crumple, you know, into just like a little ball, and opened it back up and
Stencil?
yeah, and then flattened it out and everything, kind of cleaned it up just slightly, rubbed it off. And then because he did that, it made the paper flexible. It made it so he was able to wrap it around that round surface a lot better. And I'm gonna be completely honest. I've tried it a few times and I didn't get the results I wanted, but I wasn't using it on a head. I was trying shoulders and things, and I did get a little bit of results on it. I probably wasn't doing it perfect, but what the problem that I got from it was the stencil getting all over the place. But he was swearing by it.
No, which direction to crumble it? Maybe the stencil on the outside so that it doesn't touch itself on the, or I don't know. That'd be a tricky.
Maybe put a dry paper towel with it and crumble them together.
That might be good. Put a paper towel on the stenciled side.
Leave it with its lighter sheet. That's
You do the crumpling and definitely do it over a trash can or something. You know, when I'm putting a large stencil together, I'll bring out a 2x3 foot sheet of cardboard and put it down on the table and you know, all my stencil cutting and taping, on that, because otherwise it just destroys the table.
yeah, it gets everywhere.
Crumbs that are invisible, you don't even know they're there.
And they smear everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're always walking around with a war paint purple stripe on your face that nobody tells you about till the end of the night.
Every time.
Some on his nose, and I was like, "Hey, you have some stuff on your nose," and he's like, "Damn it, Sierra!" And I was like, "Look, I was trying to be real because no one tells me."
I feel like I probably walk around the most at our studio like that, because I always got these giant geometric like 8-piece stencils, like 8-piece of paper size stencils that I'm putting together for like a half hour. And so I all over my hands and it just drops everywhere. I just got to clean up so much, and then I don't see it on my face.
You do have a lot of ink smudges, like now that you mention it. I think you're right. You definitely have the most. I think I'm probably like second behind you, but I think you have the most ink smudges.
Proud of it.
Yeah. Sarah, have you adopted the tattooer uniform yet? Like all black everything?
I kind of had that before I started tattooing.
Let's see with black ink.
Yeah, black or pink are my colors, or purple.
I feel like once we start talking about the mess that like we make with stencils and the purple stuff, then we got to talk about like all the ink splatters all over all of our clothes and shoes and everything all the time. We always look like messes.
I do love shoes.
Can't have nice.
Me sad that I can't wear all my shoes to work.
Yeah, she knows better than wearing all of her shoes to work now, finally.
Yeah, I need to either start wearing aprons, or just every pair of clothes I have ends up with ink on it. You know, it just ends up with a random spray or something. Ink dries up a little bit, and I'm going, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, black all over my pants.
Well, I like the favorite when you got the cap and you think the cap's all the way closed and you shake it and it goes, you know, you shake it 5 times before you realize it's.
That's literally one of the most disheartening things ever, because then it's on your wall. It's on like else. Doesn't wipe off walls if it's not a glossy wall.
I'm always so worried about shaking ink onto one, because like in my tattoo room, I've got so many original paintings, and I'm always worried about like giving it a shake and then there'd be like canary yellow all over everything, and it'll be a color that I won't be able to get off. But like if it happens, I feel like I'm careful enough and I know my chemistry enough that I could clean it without damaging anything. But still, like, it happens. I've been doing this for 14 years and I still shake ink all over my walls. Like, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens.
I mean, you just did it like the other day.
You know, when I learned to tattoo, my boss was so adamant about every time you pick up a bottle to shake it. You take a clean paper towel, make a
Put over the top.
Do it every time.
shake, and he made it muscle memory in me. I can't shake a bottle without doing that.
That's a good practice because I used to do that all the time, and now I just grab it and start to flicking away.
I was literally just gonna say the same thing. I used to religiously always do that. Have a glove on, have that on, make sure I don't get it on my hand, make sure I don't get it on that. And then I don't know, I guess I've gotten a little lazier with it where I'll just like sometimes I'll grab like 4 or 5 bottles and, shake them all at one time. And then one of them will be a little bit open.
I've done that because I do a paper towel with like the twist top, but if it's just the like world famous where like the tops pop open, I don't grab a paper towel always for those ones.
And that's the ones that have been getting me lately.
Yeah, because you assume it's closed, but I always do for the like twist top ones.
Then who do you blame? Who do you get mad at when you have taken your bottle that you failed to close all the way and you shook it violently without double checking that it was closed or covering the top? Then you have to take 10 minutes out of your day and clean up your mess.
Oh,
Who do you get mad at? Like, only past me would have been more careful.
Green soap is not sufficient. Cleaning ink, I think.
There's always an acceptance, I feel like. It's like, I want to blame Eternal. And I'm like, no, that's no one's fault but mine. I should have not held 4 bottles in my hand at the same time.
Well, see, I was going with it was World Famous' fault because I switched to them. But like, back when I used a twist top, I did like Guy said all the time, because the twist top, you want to get the excess ink off the top too, so it don't dry and stuff. So you open and close it with that. But with World Famous, I didn't need that because I'm clicking that thing. So I just got lazy. So it's my fault. I'll take the blame. Yeah, I like the aprons kind of, but I think people should wash them a little bit more often. Just because it's not good on your clothes, don't mean you let it go 6 months without washing it. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, I like
washed routinely. Your aprons, if you're not taking them home and washing them, then
Yeah, don't let your apron be your cross-contamination point. If you're wearing aprons, keep them clean or wear disposable ones. But there are a lot of people that'll strap that like leather lap cloth around one of their legs, and like it's got like 6 years worth of ink splatter and drops all over it, and they're still like, "Oh, put your foot right here. It's okay." It's like, I feel like 30 other people have done the same thing. Like,
well, it's like that's not only ink splatters. I mean, in a lot of those drops of ink are plasma, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a nice Hep C leg cover you've got there. That's nice. But it's funny because a lot of people wear them to protect their pants, but they forget that they're making a cross-contamination point on themselves. So it's one of those like, yeah, you want to protect your clothes, but at the same time, I know if I get ink on my jeans, I'm going to go home. Those jeans are going to go into my washer with Tide, and then they're going to go into my dryer, and they're not going to be contaminated when I get them out. But that lap cloth, if you're reusing,
well, you might be protecting your pant leg, but you're
not protecting your client.
The pad itself too, is not protection of your hands and your other areas.
Also,
Yeah, that's one of those things just to keep in mind.
Dental bib just taped around my leg.
Boom.
I'll swap it out anytime I take a break. So I might go through 2 or 3 over the course of the session. I don't know if that would be too wasteful for some people, but that's even the wettest of splashes from soaking through into your pants.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a funny trade-off for tattooers. Even if we are like environmentally conscious, sometimes we need to be wasteful to ensure that we're using a new barrier every time.
You can be environmentally cautious doesn't mean you can't be biologically cautious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You just got to find that happy medium, the least wasteful way of taking the precautions.
Yeah. And sometimes knowing that we have to do that in some areas is where in other areas of your life, you realize that, hey, because of my job, I have to use a little more material than I want. So instead of using paper cups and stuff, I'm going to use this same cup all the time. You know what I mean? You can replace things in your life because your life is one full circle. So you might need it at the shop. And I love the idea of like taping around your leg like that, because then that's a new piece each time. So, I mean, is that wasteful or is that, correct?
Cleaner than your own pant leg.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're creating less cross-contamination for your client as well.
Jordan, what happened to your pillowcase?
It crumpled itself.
It crumpled itself. Like the dog that got busted. I didn't do that.
Yep. Nope. I need a little bit of a little something to squeeze over here. Honestly, right, completely numb. You were definitely right on how you're going about that, guy. Yep. Not bad at all right now. That's the easiest it's been.
Yeah, we did a bunch of Magnum work, and now just fiddling around in those areas with detail, but we soaked them in Bactine. And you know, anytime you hear people say, "Oh, I've tried that Bactine, it doesn't make a difference," you need to do it that way. You need to break skin first, enough of it that it can let it do its magic, and then you need to make sure you give it a good soak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, I feel 5% of the paint, not even 5%. It's almost completely numb right now. And I know you're probably working over spots that you've already worked before.
Yeah, well, I'm also right next to areas I haven't, and that's where you're going to be feeling. But you know,
That's the 5%.
The paint will return pretty quickly. But you know, you can reapply it a few times, and you know, the idea is you're not trying to make it 100% numb. It gives you a break, you know, and the best time, if you're, you know, doing a large project and trying to get many hours in on a person, you're having to take a break. You know how hard it can be to get back in after you take like a half-hour break. But if you take enough skin first, come back after that break, give Bactine soak, you get back into it without really feeling much at all. You have to be mindful, make sure you actually work in the areas that already have broken skin, you know, you don't get them all numb and then just wander wherever you want to. I find myself easy mistake to make.
What, kind of noodling around or something? Going all over the
Next
place.
thing you know, you're off doing something else. Yeah, just make sure you manage the numbness that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I numbed you down there, but now I'm going to wander over here.
Yeah.
Artistic mind takes over.
Oh, that's the worst. I do that to my clients by accident all the time, like especially when we're close to the finishing touches and I'm coming through with like my lightest, brightest colors. I'll be like in a numb area and then be like, oh, we got a little twinkle right here. And I zap them and they're like, ah, it's the worst. And I'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I knew that was going to hurt and I didn't warn you.
Yeah.
Hurts my heart.
Sometimes I find myself wondering, but I do. When I use like the Bactine or the holy water, I find that I stay in that area because I'm a little more cautious. Like he said, that I've made the efforts to numb that area. So let's just kind of knock it out. And then as soon as you wander out, though, you can tell the difference in your client's attitude.
Yeah. So Guy, how is the new educational the courses going for you? I got to sit in just a little bit on the orientation.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. It's actually super exciting because, you know, it's all based on material that I've been teaching forever, but it's totally reorganized into something that's a lot more like a real course with, you know, every week you've got a lesson plan. And I know that not everybody can do that, you know, but it's a much different experience from simply buying the book or the ebook and having this, you know, many hundreds of pages of content and all these hours of video and all that to go through. But instead have a more intentional way of moving through all this content and kind of, you know, try to find a good order for these things to unfold in, you know, so that across 48 weeks of lesson plan, it's just going to keep building.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with you because I have like I say, I have the book and it's a lot of content and I've read it and reread it again, you know, just trying to process all that and then translate what you're reading. When do you break it up into these sections to make it make sense and applicable? So I think it'd be a great thing to break it down in courses like that.
So yeah, for instance, next week we move into flow and fit. And, you know, that's obviously very important for, you know, larger design, but also it's important for any size, you know, just good placement, making the tattoo flattering. You know, that can make or break a piece, just where it's placed and how it's related to the body. So, you know, they read a chapter about it. Then there's like a hour and 15-minute recorded seminar, you know, high production kind of seminar. Then we have a couple of things. Every week we're exploring either digital design or painting, working in other mediums to, you know, make sure that build all those skills as well. Then we have a tattoo challenge every week. You know, with some project that you have actually, you know, coming into the studio to work on, see if you can put some of these ideas to work. And then we have a number of recorded exercises. And then finally the live Monday night exercise where you join the Zoom call and, you know, we usually start with some quick warm-up drawings, thumbnail sketches, and then we'll have, you know, a large drawing that we spend the remainder of the session on, and you know, give each other feedback and that. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. It's like even a quiz at the end of the whole thing, so that we're able to, you know, at the very end of 48 weeks, say, yeah, I completed the entire course. So yeah, definitely different from just an ebook, you know.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot more digestible for people to actually follow along, like course for course like that, instead of just like at their own pace. Because there's something different when you're like accountable to a person or to a group of people, and you know, like each week the same group of people or most of the people are going to be logging on, and you know, once you get a few weeks in, everything's going to start turning into group discussions, and then you've got this whole batch of artists who have been learning together and growing together, and now like they're almost like, I don't know, peers, obviously, but like almost like comrades. You know, they've learned the same things and the same lessons at the same time. And now once these students get a little bit further along, they'll be able to look at each other and see how they're applying those tricks, the same and different, depending on the work that they're doing. So I'm really excited to see the kind of magic that comes out of that, like actually having this group of people learning and progressing together. I think that's going to be a cool new change that's developing.
Already we're seeing a much higher level of participation in the live drawing groups and kind of thing than we have in the past. So yeah, that definitely, it seems like this group of participants very engaged and motivated. They're really wanting to get better. So put the fire under my ass. And of course, every week the exercises I come up are very much, you know, I'm trying to get myself better as well. You know, I'm trying to skill set, you know, focus in on the weaknesses and do something that's going to take me a little bit outside my comfort zone.
Yeah, so it's not only teaching other people, but you're allowing yourself to expand your knowledge a little bit too. So you're getting feedback, live feedback from people. So it's allowing it to constantly adjust the course to make it understandable.
Yeah, and also we try to, with each exercise, imagine it being you're at a gym, you know, or yoga or something like that, where you're following an instructor and they're like, okay, this is the basic version. Now, if you want to make it harder, here's some things you can do to make it more challenging. And we've been doing that already. These live exercises, I've been doing them for, you know, we're going on 2 years pretty soon. With barely a missed Monday. We took Valentine's Day off, and you know, there've been a couple, but you know, it's been a very regular thing for us. And you know, we're paying attention to where all of us are at as a group, and what people want to work on, and really the whole thing that I'm trying to base this 48-week course around is goals. You know, the critique that we had a big group critique the other night. I had something like 60 people that submitted work, the 5-hour critique session. But the idea was to identify goals, short-term, you know, kind of smaller goals, because it's one thing to look at your work and just say, oh man, I want to get better. But it's another thing entirely to be able to identify things that you can work on right away, goals that you can, approach with exercises and, by being mindful of how you're designing the projects that you're actually tattooing, and be able to, over a shorter period of time, hopefully be able to actually see real evolution.
Yeah, be able to break it down into steps of like, okay, if I want my work to get better, does it start with my line work? Does it start with my understanding of dramatic light and shading or things of that, versus just, does it start with my knowing how to contour the body? And if
Right.
you down like that versus as a whole, maybe you can start to see those small progresses, which give you that courage to keep moving forward.
And
Right.
of course, one of the goals, we have a list of goals, and of course you can come up with your own. But one of the ones that I know it's come up for people many times, so we included it in the list, is the idea of finding or developing your own personal style, your own thing. And that's a super important goal. So never too early to have that as part of your objective.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
I think there's a lot of magic in just having groups to like a group together. Because like as you're teaching and as you're demonstrating things, like certain phrases are more digestible to some people than others. So like sometimes, for instance, like when we're speaking, like Jordan will say something or Todd will say something, and then I just feel like I need to say it in different words. But like sometimes there's that person that just needs to hear it in multiple ways, or they just need to ask the question for just a little bit further clarification. And when you're participating live in something instead of just following along with the book, then it allows the instructor to use like synonyms to help make it more clear, or to like take a moment and like actually like show you the nuance where all it takes is just a moment, or just explaining it from a different angle, and it's going to click and it's going to resonate with that person, and it's going to make a difference. Where sometimes if you're just following along with a tutorial that you can't like interact with, you might just get blown over because you didn't understand one nuance or one trick, or where like when you have the opportunity to just like, hold on, wait a second, can you say that a different way, or can you expand on that a little bit? And I think that's the magic of gathering, like for all of these virtual events, because there's that magic opportunity to be like, wait a second, can we touch on that just a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's sometimes you just have to find the right metaphor, and that won't always come at first attempt. And as a instructor, definitely the difference between recording a seminar in the comfort of your own home versus recording one live is you really do have to sort of pay attention to if you seem to be making sense, and if your choice of words, your choice of metaphors is the right one for that crowd. Teaching has always been, for me, a unparalleled learning experience. The main reason why I do it. And one of the main reasons for that is you can't explain something without having pretty clear knowledge of it, because otherwise your explanation is just going to show your gaps in your knowledge. And sometimes you won't know about those gaps until you're in the middle of trying to explain it. I can't tell you the number of times that's happened to me. Mid-seminar, it would occur to me, yeah, well, I really wouldn't know what the tolerance for this is, or what the highest level of this should be, or what the right guideline would be for figuring out that particular parameter, darkly, that sort of thing. So let's talk about it as a class. I've had to do that. I had to turn questions into class discussions because I didn't have an answer. Which, I don't want to have to pretend I have an answer to everything, because that's just way too much responsibility. It would also make me full of shit. I don't want to be a teacher. Yeah.
So Chris, to jump tracks just a little bit, how is planning going for the Indie Tattoo Expo?
Oh, it's going amazing. We've already sold out of booths. We're actually compiled a huge list of artists for 2023 that are trying to get in. We still have a few vendor booths left. I'm going to build a few more props. I like to hand make the props and everything. So but everything's going great. The hotel's been great this year, really working with this. The town of Plainfield has got really involved. So the entire town's involved in promoting, and we're on the Hendricks County Visitors Bureau website now, Plainfield Magazine, everything. So it's really been taking off kind of crazy, because last year, we kind of were still in that stage of holding back because we weren't sure what we could do, if they were going to allow us to have the expo or not. So I feel like feels so much faster moving. The billboards are getting ready to go up. Got some sponsors come in already this year. So everything's just been going really smooth.
Super exciting. I feel like more people are involved this year and wanting to be involved this year.
Yeah, that's been a great thing with Sierra and her friends. They're in the younger ages, and some of them are, the younger girls. So they really put on the dresses last year, look good, tattooed, and they're helping promote it. So we have a lot of people getting involved this year.
I'm super partial, but I loved the Art Deco theme. Are you guys sticking with the same theme from now on?
Oh yeah,
Art Deco.
Yeah, I hand built all those props. So I told everybody we're stuck with those for a while. I just think it's also beautiful, man. I've always had this thing of wanting to show people like the beauty in tattooing, like how like magical. And I think that era just kind of makes everything have that, just, puts that little bling with everything. So I love the Art Deco. I want it to be the best looking expo there ever has been, as far as, like you just come in there and you can see the high level of respect that the art of tattooing deserves, the craft of it. Not that it's this big industry. You notice it's people think indie was big, but we only have 85 tattoo booths, I believe. So kind of keeping it smaller like that keeps the value to it too, I think, so I think we'll stick with that for a long time.
This is my video. Jay Grimmy came last year, and he and I, we just took, oh, there we go, walking around together. But I handed off my phone to him, and this video keeps going for like an hour and a half, but we're actually filming some of the competitions once we get further in. But this is just me and Jay casually walking through the convention floor last year together. So I tried to get a little bit of each booth and who was working. And
if I wasn't on here and you was telling somebody about how last year went, what would you tell them?
Oh, I think it was a fantastic show. If I didn't know better, I would have not imagined that was your first show. It was really, really well put together. Everything's like from an attendee's point of view, everything seemed super smooth, super professional. It was really impressive, Chris. You and your team really did a nice job bringing this together.
Thanks. And that's what it was a lot, the team, Sierra stepped up for the weekend. It's kind of, I'm teaching her to be her first year tattoo, learning a tattoo. And I'm like, also, you got to learn to run this tattoo expo. And she stepped up. Trina, the lady, Trina, my partner in the expo, she is her dad, who taught me how to tattoo 30 years ago. So she has that passion and love for the industry. And she's real thorough on getting everything accomplished correctly. And then, my camera, my phone's going dead here. And then Brittany, pulled together a little bit of style with it and made our social media look great. So the team really, my studio allowing me to step away from the shop and them handling business while I was gone. I just couldn't say enough about like the team really is what made that show. Fortunately, it was my first one in India. I had done, helped out and thrown Days of Dead Tattoo Expo. So it was technically like my fourth expo. Just my first one by myself and in Indianapolis. So it was pretty cool to see it fall together and avoid some of the problems that I had previously experienced. And then fortunately I, had a relationship with Derb. So it was nice to get the moments pre-Indie Tattoo Expo to talk to him, and then him showing up at the expo. And you were there pretty much most of our conversations throughout every day, the 2 or 3 of us would meet and he'd be like, hey, today's going to kind of go like this. So I did have a little bit of a help. So some people don't get, so I was lucky and fortunate on that part.
Yeah, it was kind of sweet. You'd be like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people here. And Derb would be like, it's Friday. It's never busy on Friday. Just relax. This seems good. And then the next day it's like packed solid and you're like, whew, you were right. It is busier today. So it's cool to see like with like Derb's guidance, you got more relaxed and more comfortable as the show went on. So it was good to see.
It definitely allowed some ease there to my mind because, you don't know what to think when you're the guy that's all the spotlight's on. Like you're responsible for it. If it doesn't go down, like you're the one that everybody's going to be looking at. So somebody with that, knowledge in it to be like, no, and it really kept me calm, which probably allowed for the expo to go a lot smoother. So when there was little things, I could pop up and handle them because I wasn't stressing out on imagination, basically.
Feel like we did a pretty good job for the first year.
Yeah.
It seemed crazy to us, but I don't think anybody else felt like it was crazy.
Was it like a slingshot after the event was over and you guys were like, what do we do with our hands? What do I do? Who's got the emails? Are we caught up? Is there more work? Do you have that?
Yeah, we had that for a minute, but the team's so small that and I wanted to stay on it just to show everybody because people can do something once, but can you make it great twice? So I mean, we maybe took a month off, and then we were basically back on the grind, getting things going, and it didn't take no time at all before we were full swing. So I think this year after, I am going to try to actually take a little bit of time where we're like, all right, we're not answering emails about it. We're not, going to take a month or so and try to get that clarity in between them. Because it's been the way last year went, the perception from it really blew up this year to where there really wasn't no time for that little, like, what do I do? Because everybody's like, whoa, I heard about this. I'm not missing out. Whoa. And everywhere we go, Kenny Salone and I, we traveled to all these tattoo expos and people are coming up that weren't there. And we're like, hey man, I heard. So it just instantly fired back up. So I'm hoping this year it'll keep that momentum, but afterward I'll get a little bit of an actual break because now people know when I do release it, it'll be fast and I don't have to really worry about how well it's being perceived because I think we've made a good mark with it already.
This is the first time I've watched through this video since like right after I took it.
I love the video.
It's like a time warp, stepping back a year.
Yeah. It's cool when I like watching the videos because I got to watch one, and when I watched the first video I had made, I got a little emotional because I was so busy the weekend I don't really get to see it. So it's nice when you see the videos, you get to see what actually happened, and I love watching new clips of it to see this different angle of what everybody is talking about.
Yeah, and this was just me walking around. Nobody knew who I was or anything. So me and Jay are just walking through the crowd as if we're collectors and just kind of catching it from the like attendees point of view. So this is really what it was like wandering through and watching everybody work. Like, people might go ahead.
I had a company contact me about doing like a VR kind of thing where someone walks around like this so people can buy tickets and experience it, across the country or across the world for that matter, I guess.
Gabe, every time Gabe and I get together, we both keep talking about like the possibilities with 360 cameras and virtual reality, like the day of like buying a $20 ticket or however much to just sit and throw your VR headset on and stroll through the convention like you're actually there in VR. That's not far off. Like,
no, we might do that this year. That actually might be a small thing that will be at Indie Tattoo Expo this year. I'm working on that. I deal with the company right now. DJ Munchies, which you just seen there, one of our DJs for the expo, he's involved with them. We were actually set up, our booth was right across from theirs. So like, I'm like, while we were in the booth, I'm like eyeballing all of their equipment and like, how are they using this? And what are they using this for? Yeah. So you guys were across from Rock Dog Productions, who did a lot of our video on the stage. and stuff. But yeah, so this year, hopefully we'll have possible. We just talked about last week, the VR setup to where maybe it's just where it's by the stage and they can see the contest and stuff. And we might have someone walking around like you with this camera so that if they have that 360, they do it like on a baseball cap or different things.
Like me or me.
Well,
Because it could be me.
Yeah,
It could be me.
It could be you. I mean, if you want to pay enough, we could have you do it, right?
Well,
Yeah,
if you'll let me do it, I'll just do it.
Yeah, that'd be a cool experience. I think, so people could, the VR experience like that at the expo. And it does have, especially with all the things going on now, and certain people that would love to be at these things that have health concerns that can't be there, or, or just they're in Japan, So
Yep. That's one of the things, like the whole reinventing platform. That's been one of the magic things, is to be able to like get together virtually and share experiences. It's not the same as being there in person, but it's still a little bit of connectivity. It's still like keeping everybody's like foot in the door and keeping us all connected and keeping us still a tight knit community and keeping us still at just like a click away, a literal click away. Yeah, these virtual hybrid events, I think I just love them. I love being a part of it. And I love like just having the platform to like just share what we're doing and just kind of to give people a window in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, the sock puppets there. Did you get you one of those?
I missed that opportunity. I should have.
Yeah,
I missed that opportunity though.
Oh, hot dog. That's my guy. Yeah, I love the opportunity to do the virtual stuff. And I really appreciate you bringing me on here and having Sierra on here today to kind of introduce her. And so she's Sierra Taylor Tattoos on Instagram. But I love the, get everybody involved, connect people so that, when I was a kid, I remember the first time I met Guy was, I believe, Detroit, maybe around 2000. You probably don't remember, but I was looking up to, look at my charger out there. I already knew who he was, and it was early 2000s. And I get on the elevator, and it's Guy Atchison on the freaking elevator with me. I'm like, holy shit, you know what I mean? And so, to have my daughter on here, sitting here having a conversation with him, like, because of this type of a program, like, to me, that's freaking awesome,
Yeah, I think that's one of the best uses of technology right there. Bridging those, allowing people to just freely meet. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's really been it's allowed, especially for an industry like ours, Guy, you've been long enough to know too, like, again, it was always, go to an expo. So that meant 600 miles or plus to have this same conversation and connection. And I think, like we were saying earlier, Fawn, tattooing's given us all so much. So now that we can actually all give back to it, like, wouldn't it be nice to give to tattooing what it's given to you? Because I feel like tattooing's given me everything. So if I could give it every possible ounce of me that I can outside of just my travel zone, then that's amazing.
It's all pretty special. Oh man, this makes me look forward to Detroit so much. Detroit's coming up. And then we've got the Tampa show that Derb and I are going to. And then
I'll be at Tampa working with you, Ink the Bay, I think, or whatever.
Yep. Nice. Good.
I'll be in Detroit just to hang out and hustle the show. Then I'll do Ink the Bay. I'm working that as well. So I'm ready to hit the road.
Nice. I always love seeing you when we're out on the road, Chris. It's great. We always have such a good time.
We always have great conversation too. That's what I love, is to get around people, because you can see some of the greatest people, but can you have a good conversation with them?
Well, we're so passionate about the same things. Like, we're such like workaholics, and our lives are so consumed, but we're still so in love with tattooing and the art and the people all at the same time. Like, I don't know. I know we're not the only ones, but it's just nice that like when we get together, we're all so excited about everything we're doing.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it's like, you don't see each other for a while, and you see each other, and it's like you pick right back up, like boom. It was, we're hanging out yesterday, and it's just, I think that's the importance of the actual expos and going to the things too. I think the virtual thing adds a way bigger spectrum to it, but I do think the importance of showing up at the expos and supporting each other and buying each other's product and getting that is a very important connection as well. And that's, you know, that's why I made ours a visual expo with making props and having a theme to it versus it just being show up and set up stuff. You know, I wanted it to, you know, when people show up, it really give them an experience. That's so cool to see this video. I haven't seen, you know, half this footage.
This is just, like I said, this was just me and Jay handing my phone back and forth. I wanted to walk through and get at least a shot of every booth. I think I need to start doing this for every expo that I go to, because this is pretty cool to jump back to a year later while we're talking about it.
Yeah, that's Thomas Hunt's tattoos. Yeah, it was I'm excited about this year. It's just, we did add a few booths this year out by the Kingpin booth. We moved some vendors on down the hallway and through, you know, I think we had about, I want to say roughly 7 to 10 more booths.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually reduced the ink therapy booth size to try to fit in so many. We just had so many people wanting in that I was like, all right, we're the home shop. It's nice to have a big display there, but all my guys can't be there all weekend anyway. So it just made sense to drop it down and give some more people the opportunity to be part of the show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's Jay showing off his arm.
Yeah. He had pulled a couple of awards, didn't he?
Yep. I think actually, so I brought my stack of awards with me. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret about me. This is probably the worst. This is my worst quality as a collector and hopefully my worst quality as a person. But I have a whole box of awards I haven't given to the artists who won them. Like I always intend to, but.
Oh, Fawn, what are you doing?
Oh,
I'm really bad at UPSing things. I just gave Adam a whole stack of awards. Like if you were watching when Lauren was doing the intro, Adam, that was Adam's body that was in front of the camera. But I gave him a whole stack. But like, look at these fly awards. These are really nice.
Is that an Indie Expo one?
Yep. This was the back piece. Good job, Russ. I'm going to see if Jess will help me mail these out today since I took the trouble to bring them in. So I'll probably have
That's
a
a
bill
Rust Abbott
to the warehouse. Oh, this is me taking my clothes off if you're watching TV.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, let's see. You
Showing
know
her
what?
ass. Look at that.
So I got the second place for the Geo and Art Deco, which was like my back. It's like that. The some of these categories were designed for my collection. And then I got second place in the surrealism category for my collab with Russ and Tofi. So
Nice.
So Russ Abbott won 3 awards on my collection at your show. So
nice.
Yep.
And you're hanging on Russ Abbott's awards and stuff from one of the coolest shows there is. And look how beautiful that first place one is there. That thing's
actually, I'm lying. These are 4 awards for Russ because I got large color on my back too. So 4 awards for Russ from your show. And then I think I took third and chest. I took first and third in chest and back. So my back took 1 and my chest took the other. So I gave that to Adam. So yeah, I kind of cleaned house on awards last year. So I probably won't join the competitions this year. I'm probably gonna, if you'll allow me, I'd rather just be up on stage with my camera, like talking to everybody while they're up there. I thought that was really cool.
That. I love giving other people opportunity once you've won, you know, at certain shows and stuff. You know, if you got new work and stuff, but if you've already pulled it, you know.
Well, and also sometimes, and maybe this is just me because like I'm incredibly proud of my collection, but there are pieces that have already won awards. And sometimes I'm at a show and it's like, oh no, I need to get in here and get this award because my piece deserves to win. But other times it's like, oh no, this person traveled this far. Their artist probably hasn't won an award for this piece yet because it's so new. Like, let them have it. So for me, like, it's not always like the ego thing. Am I the best? Do I have the best work? Sometimes there are collectors where like it will mean more to them if I just don't enter this. Like let them have the excitement that I had the first time I won this award, basically, you know, like, and another thing is like judges know, like classier judges know. I've judged where like, oh, I know this swept everything last week at such and such. This piece deserves a little bit of attention. So, you know, classier judges know like the pecking order of who's won what, and you know what I mean? Like, so there's a little bit of that. And for the judges, like who deserves to win because they haven't won yet. You know what I mean? You might have two pieces in the same competition that are both as good, but one might be 3 years old and has won 12 awards, and this other one just was finished 2 months ago, and it's time for this one to get its
And they're
just
both
dessert.
equally value of pieces.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's more like,
I like
no, you've won this already. Sit down. Sit
I
down.
do
We
like
already
the
know this
judging
one.
system that we're using of not having the score system. I love the judging system at Indy. Just
The
having
card system is nice. I like
It
it.
is. I think it's way fair. There's been many times where I judged the system with the numbers and then they announced the winners, and I'm like, that is not per my numbers. That's not who won. I think that's really hard when you have 40 people and you're doing 1 through 10 and you don't know what what are you judging it against? So it's 1 through 10 against each other. So you'd have to look at them all first to see it. So this gives a chance for the correct people to win.
I think it's nice because it's like, okay, we look at the whole group of people entered in this contest, and then we'll take like everyone's set up a little bit different, but sometimes it's like, okay, we're going to take the top 10 out of these 40. So if you're in the top 10 or you're close, stay on stage. And if you're not, well, we've just narrowed it down to the best ones to choose from. And it's almost like you systematically like just reduce the number of people in the group, and then you get down to like 2 or 3 or 4 pieces. Sometimes it's cut and dry, like that one's first, but let's talk about these 2 for second and third, or the other way around. There might be 2 standout phenomenal pieces, and like that one's definitely third, but which one's better over these 2?
Well, what I also notice is that it allows more crowd participation or more crowd involvement, because they're sitting there, they get to sit there anxiously watching it dwindle down versus just waiting for us to call out a name. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's a little bit more interaction with the crowd when you do it that way too, is because they're sitting there and immediately you're going down to the first 10 or the best 10, like you said. And then, then you're down to maybe 4 or 5 and then the final 3. And, the people are sitting there watching that happen versus just waiting for you to call out numbers later or names. So I really enjoy it as a spectator more myself too.
Yeah, before when the judges are like, I shouldn't say before, but competitions where they're still doing it with the sheet of paper and the score system. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it really is nice for the audience to actually see the decision making happening instead of just having like a stack of papers, somebody calculates, somebody announces. You can actually like see these tattoos side by side on stage, and then you can see like, okay, those are the strongest ones. They deserve to still be up there. And then from there, we narrow it down, and it's, there's no like secrets. There's no like, what makes this one better than that one? There's no like deliberating. I shouldn't say there's no deliberating, but there's less deliberating with the judges back and forth. It's usually like, but look at the line work on this one and look at how this one healed. And like, you can actually hear those things. Like if you're a contestant, if you're entering your tattoo, you can actually hear the judges talking, and, it kind of lets you in a little bit. If you're not a tattooer, it lets you in on what tattooers are looking at or judges are looking at to make good tattoos.
Then as a judge too, like you're saying, you're somebody saying, hey, well, what about this or that? Because you're like, I really like this piece. And they're like, yeah, but you're looking at this broad spectrum of 40, 50 people. And now you're like, well, yeah, I like that piece, but did you see that one little area where they kind of, scabbed out, or, the lines this or whatnot? So I think it helps it really get that. I think it just gets the best result.
Mm-hmm.
And it educates the clients, because I've had people come up when I did the other systems and be like, hey, if you don't mind, can you tell me why you judged me this way, or why, and they were, genuinely curious of why their tattoo fell out where it fell, in the system.
Well, it's like at the end of the show, we had the best all around male and all around female, and of course Derb was judging. So I talked Cervena into getting into the competition, and like, I was like, we're going to get, and there was another girl. I can't remember her name. I'm sure you will, but I really thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be me, her, and Cervena 1, 2, and 3. But then this other lady came out of nowhere with a fantastic collection. So afterwards, I got excused. I didn't win all around, and Derb like pulled me aside. He's like, hey, I just, the other judges and we were looking at Cervena, and I can't remember the other girl's name. And he was like, they have more limbs covered than you. So like that's why we narrowed you out and chose them. I was like, Derb, it's okay. Like, I have 2 bare arms and a mostly bare leg. I get it. I'm not mad. And then I was like, I talked Cervena into entering. I'm not mad. So it was one of those, like, he was afraid that like maybe I would be upset, but I was like, I'm cool with it. Like, I think that's a great criteria. They've got more coverage than me. So that's who should be judged for the best all around bodysuit, you know, like their bodysuit's closer to completion than mine. And Derb was like, oh, cool. All right. All right. I was like, if I were you, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, their bodysuits are closer. So let's judge the 3 women with the complete bodysuits versus the one that's 75% complete.
Yeah.
So, you know, like,
Well, you know, we
as
talked about that a lot, like, you know, integrity of the judging up there
Mhm.
too is, you know, I think with the open system, it keeps integrity there because with the number system, people can hide it. But also, like Derb was like, you know, and Savannah, she's like, well, I don't want to get in it because, you know, Derb's going to be judging and stuff. I'm like, look, at this level, if anybody thinks that any of us are petty enough that we're going to lie for an award, one,
Mhm.
they're probably not. That's not the level of convention I'm trying to throw. I'm trying to put it with, you know, integrity of like, you know, systems like this and things. So I was like, I don't think anybody's going to, you know, question it. Plus, it's live. It's happening. You know, people
Yeah.
get to see the difference in the pieces. Like you said,
Mhm.
you're seeing, okay, yeah, she's got some sharp work, but, you know, her arms only come down this far. And, you know, her arms are completely sleeved and she's got her whole frontal and her back, plus her
Mhm.
leg, you know. So,
Yep.
yeah.
But I don't know. There's just, there's all different kinds of reasons that judges make the decisions that they make, but it's really nice when it's right there. And as a spectator, you can see it. Then there's no bickering. There's no like, oh, well, why didn't you choose this? Because this, and this. And when a judge can
It's a
say,
hard-
well,
yeah,
we
it's a
made
hard
these
job.
decisions.
I mean, because, you
It
know,
is.
like people wonder why you do it, man. And sometimes it's not a matter of when you have to, people have to realize, and you have to realize as a judge, it's still just a matter of your opinion.
Mhm.
So I might like a piece better than Fawn likes it because that's the style of work that I like. So those two might be 1 and 2 because, or 1 and 1, and we got to figure out which one's the best between them because we both are pulling for what we like. Doesn't mean that the other pieces are lacking. It is partial to the judges what they like. You know what I mean? To some sense. So what style of judge you have up there judging the pieces is going to make a difference in what pieces win, I believe.
I was judging at the last Hell City in Phoenix, and for the like like best of show, best of the whole weekend, like the best tattoo of the whole, not best of day, but best of show.
Wow.
It was Sunday. And so I can't remember what the 3rd place piece was, but between the 2 pieces that were up for best of show for like for the first place, there was a piece that was by
Josh Payne
Gabe.
and
Yep. Josh Payne and Geckel.
the flip shades.
No, it was on Forest. Geckel. It was Josh Payne and Geckel. And then there was a black and gray back piece. So the color piece was a 2-day piece and they worked on it Friday. Another person came to get tattooed Saturday. So they did Friday and Sunday. So there was a space in between for Forrest. Like, hats off to him. Tough guy. And then the other guy, he had Gabe Londis and Lefty Colbert do a collaborative 3-day project on him in black and gray. So like, I'm looking at these 2 impeccable pieces. One's like this macabre, photorealistic black and gray scene with a portrait in it and like beautiful, impeccably done. They both did outstanding on this. And then I look at the color one on Forest and like it's equally as impeccable, but just like a whole separate bag of tricks. And
It's so hard to find that and judge it, isn't it? I tell
so
people I hate it.
yeah, so for me, like we all got like the judges and I got together. I was like, I think they're both equally as good. I was like, the deciding factor for me is going to be which one will heal better. So we got back up and we looked up close again, and some of the lines on the color piece were just a little bit
Thicker.
not thicker, but like just a little bit more traumatized. There were just more
Yeah.
traumatized
And
lines. But
yeah.
I didn't realize they had a day in between. So for me, my deciding factor was the lines in this one are going to heal a little bit more nicely than the lines in this one. And it wasn't even like how the tattoo was done. It was just like this is going to need a touch up. This probably won't. And that was my deciding factor. And it still like haunts me, even though it was like,
two great pieces, and neither
yeah,
one.
they were both
Not wrong.
fantastic.
The
And
other
they were
piece-
both so far ahead of all the other pieces at the show that it's like, it came down to which one is going to heal nicer. But in like Geckel and Payne's defense, if their Saturday client would have compromised and let them tattoo Forrest 2 days in a row instead of that
It would
day in between.
Well,
Yeah, it would have been, how would
Yeah,
I
it would
have
look different.
decided? Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to decide at that point, like, you know,
Yeah.
but that's why we have multiple judges. And, you know, just because my opinion was on how is this one going to heal versus how is that one going to heal, you know, we still, I think the black and gray one ended up winning, and then the color one ended up being second, but it was a tough decision. And like, as a judge, we're 2.5 years later and I'm still like, that's what I made that decision on. Like that one factor, you know, all the work that went into both of them, it was which one's going to heal the most quickly and the most smoothly. And that's not even necessarily like a fair way to judge, in my opinion, but it like we had to have a deciding factor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty
Still,
excited
like-
for pieces for this year for Indy and stuff. So Indy Tattoo Expo contest should be pretty hyped this year. And
Good.
you know, being a portfolio invite show where people have to submit their portfolios and not just pay and get in. We have
Mhm.
such a great level of artists there that I think our competitions this year, I personally don't want to judge because I would be stressed out. I mean, like, would you know what I mean? When you're up there with just a room full of ballers like that, it's such a hard place to be in. I was like, you feel so great to judge, and then at the same time, you're like, I remember first time ever judging as Bodine's Tattoo Expo down in Kentucky. So this is way long time ago. I went down there with my friend Junior Purvis, and you know, he's older, he knew people in the industry and stuff. So we get there and he's introduced me. Then they need a judge. So he's like, you want to judge? And I'm like thinking if this is this honor, and like, heck yeah. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting there like, oh shit, this is hard. You know, it was like, and now I always mess with people where I'm like, you want to judge? They're like, man, you know how hard that is. Like, especially at Indy.
The first time I judged, Derb kind of just roped me into it. He's like, you want to judge? I was like, I mean, if you need somebody, I'll do it. And he kind of like gave me this little pep talk ahead of time. He's like, this is a really good way to learn. You're going to see everything close up that's been done this weekend, and you'll be able to see like what you like and what you don't like. He's like, I love judging because I like learning, and I can see what people are doing before they've even shared photos of it themselves. And I'm like, ooh, I see the point you're making. So for me, like from that first time that he asked me to judge, I've always looked at it as like, okay, this is my chance to like get a sneak peek at what all of my colleagues are doing. And I don't have to compete with them. I can just like look at them and decide which is the most strong, and then kind of narrow it down from there. So for me, the way Derb just kind of like threw me into it, but like also was like, but pay attention and learn while you're up there. It made me look at judging competitions a little bit differently. It made me look at it like a quick little learning exercise where I could just get up there and I could see like how these techniques look as the tattoos a few hours settled into the skin, or after it's already healed, or whichever the category is. But it's really nice to be able to even like see pieces that I have seen on Instagram and then see them in real life and see how they've healed and how they've settled. So there's a lot of really cool things that you get to experience that you can only experience when you're judging.
Yeah, and that's what he told me as soon as I got down. I was like, man, that was hard. And he's like, yeah, but you learned some stuff up there, didn't you? I'm like, I mean, kind of, yeah. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Really, your perspective.
Yep. Well, we're approaching 3:00, guys, and it looks like Jordan is in pain.
A little bit. The spot. We're at the very bottom lower back, right on the cheeks and in the crack, and it's a spot. But they,
Well,
like the farther, it's like we got one side of that like pretty well numbed and stuff, and now we're starting to creep over to the other side and work in the center of the spine. And center of the spine's more of a doozy, but back teen's starting to take hold, you know, hit new areas, but then the back teen starts taking hold. So then it gets a little bit nicer, but then we move into new areas and then the back teen, and we'll give in.
Up and down right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now I'm actually just, we kind of finished this left flank, and rather than starting the right flank, I'm just kind of really concentrating on this horrible spot in the middle and just trying to make it a, you know, over and done with, so that then we can move over to this other side and not have to worry about it.
good plan.
Yeah.
Yup.
All right. Well, Jordan, do you want to sign us off? And
Yeah, well, thanks for anybody who's been listening. I'm glad that we got a chance to tune in while I'm getting tattooed by a guy. And thank you guys so much for joining us this time. It's definitely good to see you guys.
Yeah,
you
thanks
guys
for-
want to drop your handles real quick?
My Instagram handle is Sierra Taylor Tattoos.
Ink Therapy and Indie Tattoo Expo on Instagram. Check us out June 10th through the 12th. I have Indie Tattoo Expo coming for a second time this year. You can check out all of our stuff right here on the web.
Beautiful.
You can find me at Guy Aitchison Art, GUYAITCHISONART.
Yep. And if you guys want to see my tattoo, we'll probably be posting pictures, when it's done.
Yep.
Can't wait to
I've got
show you
the
all.
time lapse that I've been shooting this session. Yeah, basically everything we've been working on while we've been talking. I'll be posting a time lapse of that.
Cool. Well,
It's
thanks for on there and joining us while you're in the middle of that.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you guys. It was an honor to be on here with you.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for
Yes.
taking the time.
Thank you.
This was a good distraction for Jordan.
It was great. I wish it was going longer.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign us out and I will see everybody again next week.
All right. See you.
Bye,
Good seeing you.
everyone. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Okay.